you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
Good evening, everybody. This is Brian Smith along with
Carrie Smith.
Here is your host with Smyth Radio for a brand new year, 2015. Happy New Year, everyone. This is Sunday evening at 8 o'clock on the East Coast.
July 4th.
January 4th.
January.
Merry Christmas.
Woo, you know what? It was warm this weekend.
Oh, but
and it was rainy like it was May or something.
Well, have you heard the news?
No, I haven't.
Breaking.
I never do. I never hear the news.
Breaking global climate chaos news.
Well, you could call it global warming when it's hot out.
Well, I
got to switch it.
I got to switch it to climate chaos now. Apparently, there is a massive cold front coming down, and Cincinnati is going to be negative by Tuesday.
Negative what?
-2 degrees.
Outside?
Yeah, plus the wind chill factor.
Well, by the way, this might be breaking news to you, but it's January in Cincinnati. And yeah, I mean, negative degrees is kind of unusual, but not that unusual. Come on, it's January.
And they were freaking out. The newspapers and the media was freaking out. Chicago's looking at 0 degrees.
Oh my gosh, have you ever been to Chicago in the winter? I mean, it's like Siberia up there. Anyway.
Oh, well, hey, let me throw this out real quick. This happened just today, this morning. I don't know if you're familiar with Stuart Scott. He's ESPN host.
Is he the Booyah guy?
Yes!
Booyah!
Well, on a somber note, he's been battling with cancer for the last 6+ years.
Oh, really? That long? Wow.
Since, it's, well, about 6 years ago, somewhere around 2005, 2006, maybe a little bit more. He went into, right after a show, ESPN show, they took him immediately to the hospital. He had his appendix removed right away. Had an emergency. The same thing happened to me. I had no idea. I got sick, showed up at the hospital, and they said, "Man, we got to pull this out." Well, they found a tumor. And so they started chemo and all kinds of things. But anyways, it came back in 2011. They thought he beat it, and then it came back again in 2013. And so today, rest in peace, he passed away this morning.
No way.
Yeah. At the age.
The Booyah guy. Let me tell you something about him, and I'm just now learning.
Do you know how old he was?
Pretty young, I imagine.
49.
Oh, man. So what was the cancer called? Like, what kind of cancer was it?
It wasn't like a blood cancer. It wasn't like
you said they
leukemia.
Found a tumor.
Yeah, they found a tumor.
Could be like pancreatic or something like that.
They didn't in the article. They didn't get into it. They didn't get into exactly what
something in his gut where they could find it during an appendicitis removal or whatever.
Right.
So Stuart Scott died.
So
I'm on the front page. When did you hear this? I'm on the front page of Yahoo, and there's not a single mention of it anywhere on the front page. You would think.
That is shocking because, not to ruin the moment, but ESPN did a 15-minute homage to Stuart Scott.
Let me tell you something about Stuart Scott and ESPN. He didn't just boom, like he didn't create a boom in ESPN. He revolutionized sports, I think. Think about it. When Sports Center first came out, it was kind of like, no, this is pretty cool. And then he just, between him and
a couple of the other
Patrick, whatever his last name is, and Keith Olbermann, I know he's a complete rabid Stalinist, Marxist communist with his politics.
Yeah.
Between him and the Patrick guy and Dan Patrick. His last name's Patrick. Dan Patrick and Stuart Scott, they were like the trifecta.
Wow.
They had the most entertaining hour of sports news that has ever been created and has probably ever been created since. And it's a shame that Keith had to leave that to go and pursue his dream of lying to people to propagandize them into buying into communist BS.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's there to help the communist revolution, to turn the gear.
Try, but you know what? He turned it into an angry, bitter type of thing where I think there was more. I think he did a little bit of harm to it.
Yeah. Well, but before we go too far with that, I just want to say that I thoroughly enjoyed watching ESPN, specifically when Stuart Scott was on.
Oh, yeah. He invented the phrase or word, booyah!
Right.
And it was funny when he first started doing it because it was like, they'd show all these highlights, especially of basketball, NCAA basketball or even NBA or whatever. And, like, anytime there was a dunk, he would just be like, booyah! And then there'd be, they'd cut to another scene where somebody's about to dunk again, and it would be like, booyah! And then he'd cut to an even shorter scene, and it was, like, happening faster and faster. And all of a sudden, he was, like, the booyah guy. As a matter of fact, I even remember them parodying him with his booyahs on Saturday Night Live.
They did!
Yeah, I do remember that.
It was one where Everybody Loves Raymond. The guy, Ray Romano.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He was on Saturday Night Live when they were, and he was the co-host, and the guy pretending to be Stewart was literally cracking on him. He's excited to be here as Dennis Rodman is at a Clinique fashion show.
Oh boy.
Like
wow.
Anyway, so
how long ago did he die? Because
this morning. I was watching the Bengals football game, folks, and
I'm surprised it was that long ago.
The NFL says that you can any recreations or talking of or descriptions of the NFL show is illegal, and I will be arrested. However, I will say
we'll have to report on it.
The Bengals did what you thought they were going to do, and they have now become tied with the second all-time losingest postseason team ever.
They have. It's amazing how many records
in a row.
They have.
They got 6 in a row.
6 one-and-dones in a row.
Right.
Well, and that's a kind of a loser type of record to hold.
Yeah.
But you could chuck that on top of the mountain, the heap of loser records that we've probably made over the years with, worse seasons and all that kind of stuff. Back in the late 80s, actually we went to the Super Bowl in the late 80s, but I would say the 90s would be considered the lost decade for the Bengals.
Well, yeah, we went in 84 to the Super Bowl and lost against Joe Montana.
No, not 84. I think it was before 82 or something like that. You're thinking of
86 and then 89.
88.
No, 88, 89. Right.
Yeah. That was when we had Boomer Esiason.
Right. The first one was Kenny Anderson, quarterback for the Bengals, and the second time we had Boomer Esiason. However, we were defeated by one of the greatest quarterbacks that I have always loved, Joe Montana. Just a fury to be reckoned with.
And even though Steve Young is the one that replaced him,
right?
Even though he was one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, I feel like he has always been in the shadow.
They say if you look up the stats, Steve Young surpassed Joe Montana.
But he never got out of that shadow.
Ever. And even I don't even know. Is he still a commentator on sports now?
I don't even know.
He was for a minute.
I think he does commercials.
Right. So on the NFL, when I was watching the Bengals today, that came up. And they did a little, homage to Stewart. And so I said, you know what? I really enjoy the guy. I've loved what he's done throughout the years. So I want to bring it up here on the show tonight. So I started doing some research on it, and I The only people I was like, I need a montage of his stuff. There isn't one, and I'm shocked.
That is shocking because he would have one hell of a montage.
Right. So I wound up on ESPN's website, of course, and they had a 15-minute not montage, paying tribute,
right,
to him and all the people he worked with. And I don't want to go off the tracks here, but my comment at the bottom of that video was, I really wished ESPN would have kept the overtones and undertones of race out of it.
Oh, don't tell me they brought race into it.
It was despicable.
You know what?
Despicable, to say the least.
To Stuart Scott's credit, he never acted like an angry black man who had a chip on his shoulder. He and as a white man, I never looked at him as, oh man, I like it when that black guy's on. You know, it was never like that. It was like he's just a really good,
he made you inclusive. He was all inclusive.
Yeah, there was no racial component to the work that he did at ESPN in any capacity. In whether he was just entertaining us or just commenting on anything.
So they played. In the whole thing, they had different people in it. A lot of them that worked for ESPN or worked with him, and they put a clip of a black man in there, and he didn't have a title, but they put his name in there. So I don't know if he worked for him or he knew him or where it came from, but he said, and I paraphrase, when I watched sports and everything, a lot of times I couldn't relate, because of the commentators over there.
They were too vanilla?
However, when Stuart Scott was on there, it was like I could go to one of my black friends and we could relate, unlike, the white guys I know.
Okay.
It's like, what? And then they kept referencing Stuart Scott is bringing the change. He was the change. They kept calling Stuart Scott
like he broke through that glass ceiling of sports commentary.
It's changed. It's Obama's change. And something I didn't know is that he interviewed or was with two different presidents, Stuart Scott.
Okay.
Well, at least that's what ESPN said. I don't know if there was more, but the two they brought up, one was Bill Clinton, and the other one, Barack Obama. Apparently they played ball together for a minute.
Well, I wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me to find out that he, leaned liberal.
Sure.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I would have never guessed what kind of a despicable, lying, evil person that Keith Olbermann was back when he was just doing entertaining sports commentary on ESPN.
Right.
So it wouldn't surprise me if any of those guys turned out to be flaming liberals or whatever. But, he just did a good job of just keeping it professional while entertaining. Right. And that booyah thing is just hilarious. I mean,
and even Rush says, you would not believe, you would be shocked at some points in time of knowing how liberal the sports industry is. And some of the things that we've seen and heard, I've seen and heard little bits and pieces, but I did not really think that the sports industry had slipped all the way down.
They tumbled down. They didn't. They slipped, hit their butt so hard they bounced up and started doing the forward roll.
Oh,
down
wow.
Yeah, it was bad.
So I've got a clip. I put together a montage of Stewart. So I'm going to just play 30 seconds of it, and then at the end of the show, I'll play the whole 2 minutes of it, okay?
Coming up on the show, is it Konerko or Konerko? Call Konerko butter, because he is on a roll. Looking like two here? Oh, not quite. Off the wall. It's a double for Cal. His mom thought it was a homer. Third inning. Derek Jeter in first. Booyah! Alex Rodriguez. Second homer in 2 nights. You know this kid is as cool as the other side of the pillow. 3-run shot to left. If you're Warren Moon, what are you doing at this hour? Watching Sports Night? We know, but maybe you should be packing your bags and calling real estate agents in Minnesota. Who's got the...
I forgot about that cooler than the other side of the pillow. Don't think that was something he said one time and it was like, oh, wow. That was like at least twice a week.
Oh.
He would say cooler than the other side of the pillow.
Absolutely. And then
it never got old.
One thing that he said that I could not find was when one of the baseball players, and he said it a few times, when a batter would get up to bat and just knock it out of the park, as soon as the batter hit it, he would say, "And the Lord said you got to rise up."
I never heard that one. I never heard that.
Oh man, I just loved it, and I know you're listening now, and I can't for the life of me think that you're not sitting there laughing with us. Because this stuff is funny.
That's what he did. I mean, it was pure. It was one of those things where, there's through our lifetime, there's different things that have come along that become like the thing that everybody gathers around the water cooler and talks about, or just never misses.
Right.
And during the late 1990s, all the way through the early 2000s. You just didn't miss SportsCenter.
No.
You just it was like, Saturday Night Live of the 80s.
Absolutely.
You just didn't miss those.
There's one part, and you'll hear it at the end of the show when I replay it, but there's one part when he was talking, I think he was talking with Michael Jordan, and he said, now that you've been out of the game for a while, that call that they didn't call on you where you pushed so-and-so, did you really do it? Did you shove him? I know he was prying at it, but it's funny to hear him talk to especially some of the greats that we grew up with, like Michael Jordan, and then the little sayings and the little things that he shoots out there, which are just...
He was never offensive.
No.
Never.
I'm never offended by it.
Like some of the crap you hear these days with the NFL commentators, it's like they're all loose cannons.
Well, there's also the sports radio show out in L.A. that I used to listen to in the morning waiting for talk show to begin. I had to stop listening to them because there was one black guy on the show and 3 white guys, and the 3 white guys were always bowing down, kowtowing down, and allowing the black guy to say racist things to him.
Well,
I mean, the guy would say on the radio, he would use the word cracker. I'm like, how do you allow somebody to get away with that?
Yeah, you know what I was thinking? I don't want to... We may go way off on a tangent here. I'm about to send us on a voyage. I just shoved off. We pulled up anchor.
Okay.
And the wind is blowing. We got the sails up, and we don't know where the hell we're going. But, I was thinking earlier about racism and how there's so many liberals out there that don't believe that it's racist to be racist if you're black.
Right.
Because they've been taught, maybe, misinformed about the definition of racism, and that the people that believe this believe that
there's only one culture that can be racist.
Well, they believe that the definition of racism is when you are oppressing specifically a minority. So when you do the same thing to a majority race, then that would not be the definition of racism. By definition, but see, they obviously don't know the real definition of racism. So I'm sitting here thinking, well, wait a minute. Right now, blacks in America, let's just, keep it local as opposed to worldwide. Blacks are a minority, but, things change over the years, and
right.
It could be hundreds of years or whatever, or it could be decades, or it wouldn't be shorter than that, but, one day, whites could be the minority.
Sure.
And, times are constantly changing. And there are things that were said back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s by white people that sound so unbelievably offensive when you hit the play button on the old, could be a YouTube video, whatever, some sort of archive
that we won't play here, by the way. I don't have any sound clips on that.
Right. And it just sounds so... It's like that knee-jerk, oh, my God, I can't believe... Did that come out of that person's mouth? And we're not talking about they were caught on camera. No, they said it knowing that the camera's on. Now, here's the thing. We're talking about a majority race talking about a minority race, right?
Right.
And that is what the liberals will tell you is their personal definition of racism. Well, what if a couple decades down the line, maybe 50 years, whites are the minority for whatever reason? Maybe it's just they have low birth rate as opposed to minority cultures these days who would have such a high birth rate that maybe one day they become the majority.
There was a stat that came out last week that said by 2050,
they're
saying that the Hispanic culture would be the majority culture.
Okay, so let's go with that. It could be Hispanic, could be black, but
they've passed up the black community by far. Hispanics.
Okay.
Right.
Well, whoever it might be.
Right.
Here's what I'm saying. We look at that historic documents, not documents, but footage of people, white people, saying things that are just blatantly offensive to today's culture. And we know, maybe not people listening now, low information voters, may not realize this, but what they were saying was not that overtly offensive back then. It was something that would have been considered acceptable language.
Right. A different time and a different culture.
Right. Well, one day is going to be another different time and a different culture, right? So my question to all these minorities of whatever culture, doesn't matter, who are being so blatantly racist against whites only because they believe that under the definition of racism, it can only be racist if you're oppressing or talking bad about a minority culture. How are they going to look in 50 years, in 2015, when whites are now the minority? And they replay footage from 50 years earlier of them saying such blatantly racist things against whites.
Right.
It's going to be like, doesn't it bother them to know that one day that kind of stuff? Could you imagine what Al Sharpton is going to sound like in 50 years? Particularly if whites are an oppressed minority, we could be a protected race like so many of the other minority races out there.
Wow.
Which, of course, we don't agree with. Maybe I'm not speaking for Brian or whatever, but I'll speak for myself. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with protected classes, protected races. It's a bunch of baloney, if you ask me. But one day, the white race might be what liberals consider to be a protected race. Meanwhile, we're going to play footage on YouTube from back in 2014 of black people or Mexicans or Hispanics or whatever being so unbelievably shocking shockingly racist towards whites.
Well, this isn't quite shockingly racist, but a state Senate lawmaker by the name of Marie Chappelle Nadell, apparently the other day she tweeted, and I quote her tweet, big capital letters, "Let me be clear," and then normal letters, "When you exercise your hashtag white privilege, don't think I'm not going to remember. I will use it for the future. Uncomfortable? Question mark."
How is that going to look in 50 years with a white minority?
She's the state senate. She's a state lawmaker.
They're going to look so bad one day. Even if whites aren't a full-blown minority, even if it's kind of 50-50 white-black across America, it's just going to look so bad.
It will.
History in the long run is going to be so unkind to them. They're going to be making movies about the liberals from today in the future that look like some of the liberal movies about Southern slave owners,
right?
From back in the day. They're going to be depicted just as bad, if not worse.
That's possible. All these things that are coming out, and you've heard them. You know everything from the whole exploitation and the blowing up of Ferguson to New York, cops being shot, everything, all these racist things they're putting out there. And then again, I think on Fox Saturday in the morning, they showed 4 different cities with 4 different riots going on, and it's just unbelievable how fueling the race behind all this hatred is our dear leader, Barry Hussein Barack Obama, who he met with Al Sharpton right after September 5th. Was it September 5th? The elections. Or no, November 5th, right after the election, the midterm elections, where they lost in a landslide. Al Sharpton came out on the news and said, I just met with Obama. Got talking with him. We worked things out. We'll get to Ferguson. And the statement was, go to Ferguson and make sure they stay on course. That's what Al said Obama told him.
And what is the course and where's the final destination?
For real. That's real. So, a guy that we listen to on YouTube every once in a while calls himself the doctor of democracy, the doctor of common sense. This is what he said about Obama.
Barack is a freaking liar.
Oh, okay, well.
So then there you go. I mean,
I think his YouTube channel is called The Truth Damn It. Is that him?
I think so. It's possible.
I think that's the name of it. You might want to look that up real quick, Mr. Producer.
Yes. See if you can find
Wait,
that
I got to do my Mark Levin impression. And let me tell you something else, Mr. Producer.
Yes, this is coming from another outspoken. He's got a lot of followers. He makes a lot of sense. Sometimes he gets a little bit into the weeds with the conspiracy theories. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's been a couple times where I'm just like, ooh, he kind of went off the tracks a little bit. But this is his absolute personal feelings towards Obama and everything Obama has ever done, all summed up into 20 seconds of emotion.
Barack Obama is the most corrupt, lying, conniving bastard you have ever seen. There is nothing that he will not do. There is no lie he will not tell. There is nobody who may not have to die if they reveal this man and those supporting him.
I mean, it just says it all.
Yeah, and it's funny, since I've heard so many of his videos, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much par for the course for him. I mean, he it's almost like he's getting worse in his hatred towards Obama, but it all boils down to he feels like he's being used by liberals in general, but he's like the grand wizard of all of the Democrat Party, being the president, and so it's like he's focusing all of his hatred towards liberals on Barack Obama.
Grand wizard. Huh?
Yeah, he's the grand wizard of the Democratic Party right now.
Right.
But, in a couple years, with the
right,
hey, he'll be the grand wizard forever if you think about it.
I think so. Well, he even said after his term, that is, if he does leave, if he does,
very key.
Very key. Not trying to give out a conspiracy theory there or anything, folks. But
well, we'll see.
If he leaves, he said that he promises to stay in Washington, D.C. He's going to have a place in Washington. And from the commentators that we respect and know, things that we've read and just our own intuition, he's going to stay there in D.C. to make sure that Republicans, if a Republican president is elected, you'd have a Republican president, Republican Senate, and Republican House. It's a trifecta.
Right, of course.
You'd have what he had when he was first elected.
Looking back on it and knowing just how power hungry and ruthless and relentless Barack Obama is today, we dodged a bullet. We dodged a major bullet because he was too green and he was too new at this whole president thing to really have the balls to do what he does now.
Right, because if you take the Barry that we know now
and put him back in time,
put him back 6 years ago,
and give him that all over again,
right? And speaking about that, you're like, Brian, Kerry, what are you talking about? Well, some more breaking news. Apparently, in 2014, they just put out the stats of how many new regulations Obama had put into works. They're saying it's close to 75,000 new regulations across the board.
Yeah, that. For those of you that don't realize what a regulation is, a law is something that you have to do because Congress, through their process of lawmaking, has gone through the motions and made something. It could be a statement of action, made it illegal, or something to that effect.
Drafted a document, voted on it, went through the steps.
Right, and there's a lot of voting and a lot of debating and all that. A regulation would be the same exact thing, but constructed and enforced and created by the executive branch, but in particular, usually the president, without any kind of checks and balances as far as having to be voted on by Congress, legislature, in any way, shape, or form, or any group of people who might look at this and say, gosh, this power is kind of centralized into one person. Maybe we should not allow that. But so that's what a regulation is.
And these regulations that are imposed on businesses across the board are just they're choking and they're stifling the economy and jobs.
Right.
All of them.
The EPA is the worst of them.
So that the whole thing with Obama being the liar and all this and everything else, apparently back when he was first elected in 2008, just before he was elected, and I forgot about this, but the day before the election, the Obama campaign and the media came out and they made claims that his grandmother had died and that they cremated her right away. And I'm talking about Madeline Lee Payne Dunham. That's the white grandmother, because I don't think he knows the grandmother on the other side. I think that's because she and her husband, so his grandparents, literally raised Obama for the most part. Right. So that's who he referred to. I mean, you'd look up to her as your mom almost, but you know it's your grandma. So you're like, Brian, what's so weird about that? Well, some things had come to light here recently, and apparently, as the timeline goes, and stick with the numbers here, as the timeline goes, the coroner's report that her death was the 21st of October.
And what's so significant about that?
Well, the 21st of October, Obama suspended his campaign because he said his grandma is hurt and sick, and he needs to go to her aid.
Okay. I'm seeing a little bit of a disconnect in the timeline.
The 22nd, he said, she's home with a broken hip, but I'll have no cameras and no press. We don't want anything around the house. Then the 24th, Michelle Mabel said she spoke to her, and she's strong and healthy. The 26th, the 24th again, the half-sister of Obama claims the grandmother cannot speak, so she can't give any statements right now.
Okay.
Which is kind of weird because Michelle said she spoke to her, but she said she can't speak.
Right, that's an interesting observation. Interesting.
The 26th, it's the grandma's birthday. She turned 89. But not a single word about it. Not in the media, not in the news, not from Obama, not from Michelle. Hey, she's doing healthy and we're going to celebrate her birthday.
Is this a Weekend at Bernie's moment?
Almost. And we are almost done, folks. Hold on. We're getting to the end of October. The 2nd of November, just 2 days before the election, of the savior, Barry Barack, I've got change, Obama. The 2nd of November, the half-sister of Obama comes out and says the grandmother died today.
Interesting.
And Wikipedia has it as the 2nd, as she died.
Okay.
And I'm not saying Wikipedia is the end-all, be-all. That's not what I'm saying.
They're always 100% factually accurate.
Right. You're like, well, Brian, what's the coroner's report? The coroner said she died 21st, weeks before this day. Anyways, I digress. The 3rd, the day before the election and the emancipation of Obama. The 3rd, the Obama campaign, the news media, and everyone comes out and claims the grandmother has died today, and she's been cremated right away.
So why do you think it's significant that they lie about her dying until later on?
You know,
it's odd. To me, that's very odd.
It's very strange and very odd. And you're like, Brian, you're going down a rabbit hole. I said, no.
Yeah, you know what? I'm with you, though. This is kind of weird.
It's weird and it's strange, but if you get into the mind of who Obama is and who he's been taught by, Saul Alinsky, never let a crisis go to waste.
Okay, so what's the crisis?
His mom, grandma, the one who raised him, has died.
Okay.
But it's 2 weeks before the election.
So did he wait?
Let's make it the night before the election.
Oh, wow.
This was the 4th was November 4th was the election.
And November 2nd is when they came out and said the grandmother was dead.
Obama and the media said it was the 3rd.
And
the half-sister said the 2nd, and Wikipedia says the 2nd.
So nobody's really sure because they had to make it up.
Right.
Wow. Well, that is just wow. You are using your grandmother's death as a political tool. There's something
now that we know who this man is, though.
So unethical and morally repugnant.
Sure, but now that we've had 6 years of him, and even so with the last year, 2014, which was probably one of the worst years I have ever seen a president have. It was just...
Well, you know what made it look so bad? That this was finally, after all these years, finally the first year that the media started to say, wait a minute, there is something wrong with this guy, and they finally started to say, wait, this guy is screwing up. Finally. But all the other years he was doing bad things were happening to America. It's been going on, but the media has been lying about how it's hurting us or how it's hurting America, how it's hurting the people, and how it could be blamed on Obama.
Right.
All that's been swept under the rug. And then finally, 2014 rolls around, and they're finally, you know what it is. I don't want to say they're finally waking up. They know what's going on.
Right.
They know they're finally like, you know what? We're not going to be believed anymore. That's what it is.
Well, look at the audience viewing MSNBC. Look at the audience
they're
viewing
like,
CNN.
I can't listen to these lies anymore.
Did you hear them say that they're going to change MSNBC over to a sports station?
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, they were talking about going all sports.
But there's ESPN already.
Well, but they're not credible in politics anymore.
Maybe they can hire Keith Olbermann.
Bring him back up.
Yeah.
Wash him up.
He's got something, doesn't he? Or is he on the internet?
He's got an internet show.
It's on Spreaker?
Maybe possible. I saw him the other day.
Yeah. He's got like 3 or 4 followers.
A couple. Definitely a couple.
I'm not saying that they're listening when he... But
that is true. You never know if they're listening. But something I was thinking about when you were talking just now is the Rush Limbaugh theorem.
Which is
Obama is seen as never governing, but always...
And he does that purposely.
Oh, yeah.
He purposely...
Because the blame can't be put on me.
Right. He's with you.
I'm trying to fight with you and for you. It's a whole communist manifesto. It's the Cuban
Saul
Revolution.
Alinsky. The Saul
Alinsky and what they did in Cuba still at this time. Well, no, I'm sorry. Raul Castro came out last week and said the revolution is over. He did say. I think his brother Castro had some words with him afterwards. Took him out to the woodshed.
The woodshed, I'm sure. I mean, you can't say that. I mean, it's like, hello, did you forget everything you learned from Saul Alinsky?
Right. You never give up the
fight. It's always a struggle. I mean, even Karl Marx.
The movie The Sting, where you never let anybody in. The whole trick when you're lying to people and they're lying to people and you're trying to look for the word. But the whole
I wish I could help you, but I haven't seen The Sting. So.
Oh, okay. Well, it's an older movie with Paul Newman in it. But anyways,
okay.
It's the whole trick that they're trying to trick people out of their money. You never give up the storyline. You never let them in. And you never let them believe that you know. That's the only way you can control it, is to not let them know and never give it up. Because there's quotes...
like Rahm Emanuel.
Right.
How he came out and said, never let a crisis go to waste. That is like dumping your cards over and saying, look at this hand we got.
Right. And then Knucklehead coming out that it was the author of Obamacare. And all those sound bites we play to him... But say that we knew Obamacare wouldn't work. We knew it was a tax on people. We knew it was redistribution.
Yeah, and then come out and say, what was his excuse? That he wanted to look smart.
I wanted to look smart in front of people, and I was saying inappropriate things at inappropriate time, and that was his answer for an entire day to Congress.
Repeating himself over and over.
Word for word. You know they took him to the woodshed.
Oh, he was beat. His butt was glowing red. It was beat so bad.
For 2 days straight, he was remanded to the closet to write 10,000 times.
The chalkboard.
The chalkboard. The line that he was supposed to repeat to Congress. He had to write it 10,000 times.
Oh, they put him on the chalkboard like Bart Simpson. Oh, man.
So, you know what, man? I don't know where. Obviously, this isn't going anywhere.
Well, what does it all mean? It's just, it all means that you got to know. You'll see it over and over again. If you ever get politically aware, like Brian and I are, you're going to find over time, as you get better and better and better at just learning about it and everything, that liberalism, and that's what you'll hear it as, but what we're talking about is communism, is just a way to use dishonesty to manipulate you and to manipulate large groups of people who otherwise wouldn't really take the time to bother to look up whether or not this stuff is accurate or not. It's all about using your own emotions against you.
I watched the movie America, Imagine a World Without Her by Dinesh D'Souza this weekend. I cannot even begin to tell you how you need to watch it. Watch it a couple times. Go buy it. Watch. You can actually go to his website, and he's got box packages and licensing to show it to whoever you want to show it to.
Sweet.
It's huge. So, but the reason why I bring it up is because before the founding of America, you had in the Middle East the conquering and conquest of each other is how you got money. They even wrote in their books that it was more manly to conquer and conquer someone to take their stuff than to be a merchant and sell some goods. Because being a merchant was weak and seen as lowly. But you were a man and a barbarian to go conquer and conquest some land or some people and take it from them. And that's how wealth was created back then. All through Europe, all through the Middle East, all through Asia. I mean, that's just what happened.
So you're saying they were creating wealth by stealing it from others?
Yes.
Sounds like a communist.
Yes. And that's the liberal ideology that we're talking about. And there's still to this day, are using conquering and conquest to take from somebody to enrich their own lives. However, the reason why the liberals and the communists hate us, America, so much is that we showed the world and humankind that it is about the merchant. It is about the inspiration of ideas and setting your own course to pursue your own happiness and to create and invent something that will empower somebody else or better somebody else's life. Can you imagine if you were the person? I know I've sat around and done this many, many times, and you probably have too, Kerry. That can you imagine if you had a time machine? Go back 100 years. What would you invent? What song would you write?
Yeah,
what music would you do?
Like if you were a musician and you've been, over the years, there's like these top hits that come out every year. Every year. Top hits, year after year after year. Once you listen to them, you know them. If you were to go back in time, you theoretically could write it.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And be the writer of it.
Absolutely.
And
the Temptations, the top 5, going way back in the day.
Yeah.
Any Rolling Stone song, the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, the Rock, on up through your own era. I mean, think about the music you love to listen to. Oh, how about we go back and we invent Beats by Dre and bring it to Dre and say, Dre,
see,
let's hook up, brah.
Well, yeah.
I'd be the Eminem to Dre.
Okay, I could see.
So we had to go back in history, get rid of Eminem, and then make me the Eminem in 8 Mile.
Well, you'd have to have the talent.
I have just as much as Eminem, yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, in rap.
Yeah, no, I don't know. He's got good stuff, but anyways.
If I could go back in time to right before Mozart was born, I would not be the next Mozart.
No.
It takes a Mozart to be Mozart.
Right. You could find him and inspire him, maybe. I don't know, be his bud. But you would know where they were.
I know I would get inspired.
Well, just like Nikolai Tesla, who was obsessed with working for Edison. And he really wanted to work for Edison, so he sold everything. Came from the former, well, it's like the area, Romania and Russia, that whole area.
Yeah.
Came from there to America without a penny in his pocket, looking to get a job working for Thomas Edison. I mean, would you not want to be that guy that befriends?
Oh yeah,
Nikola.
Yeah,
and say, hey, bro, let me help you out here in America to get the ropes.
Right.
I'll learn you the ropes in America, the apartment, the car, the streets. You want to find him? Okay, I'll get you in front of him. I'll help you find him.
Right. Well, he had to find him somehow.
Right.
I think that Edison was just recruiting a lot of really great minds. It was weird. It was almost like
to steal for himself. He was ruthless.
He was profiting off of the backs of other people, as the communists would say. You should have. I almost sent Brian into orbit right there.
Woo!
You know what that's called? Dog whistle right there.
Yeah.
No, but that's what they think. When in reality, Thomas Edison had this great idea that he would create a factory that produced inventions.
Wow.
That's what he did.
Right.
His whole company. That's why he came up with thousands of inventions. Right. They weren't all his. They were his companies.
And if you think about this, I mean, honestly, think about it. And something that we're proving here, obviously we're proving I don't have the talent that Nikola Tesla has. I don't have the talent that Eminem has. I don't have that talent. However, I would find a way to be a benefit of service to these guys that I know are going to be famous.
Right. And learn from them.
Right. I'm giving something of service. I'm giving service to someone, and in return, for the hard work or whatnot, you'll receive a benefit. Now, that is America. America is an idea. It is the first country ever to put that idea into practice, that that everybody can be protected and be safe to pursue their own talents. We're not a warring nation. And that's another thing, too. We're not a warring nation. There are nations that are warring right now. And a warring nation conquers another nation to take their stuff.
Right, and it's... Wow. So if you think about the founding of America, I guess you could it would be easy to imagine that the founders never thought that they would want to be... a lot of people would argue against me. Well, they took over they expanded westward as frontiersmen and kind of were pushing out the Indians, is what they would say.
Right.
When in reality, I mean, you had a clash of civilizations there. They're two incompatible civilizations.
Something I learned yesterday, watching the movie, is that just as in the Middle East, where the conquering and conquest of people like Genghis Khan.
Gingivitis?
The Romans, the Britons, the Carthaginians, all the different civilizations that you know of that are famous, they at one time took over another civilization. So on a smaller scale, what I learned was that the Indians, the American Indians, never claimed specific land, and if they did claim specific land for their people, another warring faction of Indians would come in to take them over. And they were moving and shifting around all over America, conquering and taking over each other.
Right.
Now there
was
was
and they needed that land for hunting and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, hunting and but the thing was that one tribe would conquer another tribe.
Yeah.
Another tribe would conquer another tribe. And it was these warring factions, and never a division of states of peace. Because if you look at America, we have 57 states according to Obama, and he's got one more to visit.
Did he?
He said, "I got one more to go."
Oh my God!
I got one more to go.
Okay.
So, but we have all these states that are, if you look at it, are different, not different countries, but like different sections. And they're all peaceful to each other. No state is trying to take over and conquer another state.
Yeah, right. I mean, exactly.
And the founding fathers knew that they had to keep that together and keep that from happening when they were setting up America. But the whole point of the Native American Indians is they couldn't get it together. There was a lawsuit filed maybe 20, 30 years ago for reparations that America stole a section of land. So, and they found, okay, fine. They were offered upwards over $1 billion in reparations for that land. And they said, no, we want the land back.
And what land is it?
It's up there, Utah, Oregon.
It's like the whole
Oklahoma,
25%
of where nobody lives.
Well, you know, Oklahoma was originally going to, or the Indian tribes of that area, I don't know, remember which ones they were, but they originally wanted to create an Indian nation.
Right.
Their own nation.
Right. And my daughter-in-law, not my daughter-in-law, my niece, my brother's daughter.
Oh, yeah.
My niece is part Chippewa.
Oh, okay.
Chippewa.
Chippewa.
And her uncle and her mom get to go to college for free.
What about her?
She gets a percentage off because my brother is German, Irish, something. I don't know.
Well, if he says German, she gets voided all of it.
Yes. So, something else, too. America went to war with Mexico.
Right.
Back in the day. Did you know that America beat Mexico back and at one time took over the entire country of Mexico and said to them, we will forgive your debt and give you back half of your land, which is what Mexico is today.
So we could have.
Could you imagine what Mexican people would be thinking about America if we'd kept them?
It's interesting. What would have happened? It would have been divided up into several states. And it would just be... And, it would be a lot easier to patrol the border if it's all the way down there by the Panama Canal.
And it's...
a couple miles.
A half an inch wide on a map.
Right. That would have been a little easier to do.
I mean, you with your annexing of...
Mexico.
I thought maybe you were talking about Cuba. No, you were talking about Mexico, weren't you?
Yeah, Mexico needs to be annexed.
Well, that would have been the ideal time to do it.
Well, they should just do it now. I'm
okay.
I say that tongue in cheek, but at the same time, I'm like,
gotta do something.
Is there a better alternative?
Right. Well, Dinesh D'Souza in his movie asked a border guard I think he had 25, 30-year border guard, and he asked him. He said, "How many people illegally jump the border into America?" And he said upwards of 1 million a year. Dinesh said, "Well, how many jump into Mexico a year from America illegally?" And the guy looked at him with like a dumbfounded look on his face and said, "None."
I mean, I'm sure there's got to be at least one.
He said he has never, in his 26 years of service, ever seen that happen.
Like, hey, he's trying to escape! That's exactly what they did at the Berlin Wall.
Right. Well, now, and I will have to say that I do personally know. Like, I have met people, and I know these people, and I know they really did it, who snuck back into Mexico to do some stuff and then come back to America. It's a fact. It does happen. But,
yeah, I mean, I could see it.
But
you're not sneaking into Mexico in order to hopefully live there one day.
Forever. No, they would go into Mexico for nefarious reasons. A lot of the auto body and the regulations in the paint of auto body that you find amazing. But the paint that they used to use back in the day that you can't get anymore today, better, more lustrous, thicker, last longer. It's just phenomenal paint. They still make it and sell it in Mexico.
But they can't here anymore.
But they can't do it here in America.
Oh, why not?
The regulations.
The EPA.
The EPA. So these guys that I knew that were, auto body mechanics, well, they had a shop. They had a shop in L.A. It's South Central L.A.
Okay.
So they would leave their shop and go to Mexico to get paint and bring it back to their shop.
And then sell it at a premium.
No, they would use it to paint the cars.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, would
and
they
then
reset?
Charge out the what for.
Right, that's what I mean.
Right.
Interesting.
And that happened more than you would imagine.
And that's just one of probably many examples of different things that government regulation has caused and all that kind of stuff. So.
And drugs coming across the border, back and forth. Go figure. I don't even know where to go with that. However, where are we at now? We've got some issues going on in the Republican Party.
Do we?
Yes, we do. The John Boehner.
Boehner.
Yeah.
What about him?
He is Speaker of the House, and Carrie and I have talked about him before, and we are no friends of his, not by far.
He has an R next to his name. However,
it should be changed.
Yeah, it is just wow.
So, what's going on is that Louis Gohmert, soundbite number 5, Texas Republican Gohmert, is challenged. He put his hat in the ring, I think it was yesterday, said he's going to challenge Boehner as Speaker of the House. And, there are 9 new leaders in the GOP in the House as well. So there's a whole transformation of, well, maybe not a whole transformation, but there is a change in Congress with the leadership and the people that are going to be leading the different things that they do.
Well, I hope you're right.
Well,
that's very optimistic anyway.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed because I got nothing else.
Oh, I hope too. I hope.
So Obama this last week caught wind of this, and this is what he said.
I haven't used the veto pen very often since I've been in office, partly because legislation that I objected to was typically blocked in the Senate even after the House took over, Republicans took over the House. Now I suspect there are going to be some times where I've got to pull that pen out.
Did you hear what he just said? He said that he didn't have to pull out the pen because it was blocked in the Senate.
But now that it's not blocked in the Senate,
who ran the Senate?
Well, it was the Democrats before.
So Harry Reid, and this is not conspiracy, he just said it. Harry Reid, the majority leader of the House, would block things to make it look like Obama was never governing. Because Obama never have to veto anything. Because if he vetoed it, then he's doing something.
Right.
And he could be seen as
blocking.
Obstructionist.
Yeah, he's an obstructionist. So he just lets Harry Reid do all that stuff.
Right.
But it hasn't been for very long because we're talking about a Democratic-led legislature.
Right.
But now that the Republicans are going to come on strong, then Harry Reid was what was he doing?
What was Harry Reid doing?
I'm sorry. He was sort of obstructing. He was stopping anything coming from the Republican side, who at the time were the minorities,
right,
of the
Senate,
right, of the Senate. But now that we've taken over, and by we I mean the right, Republicans,
and we won the Senate and the House, and now we got to win the Republicans. But we're slowly working this out. There's a lot of them we need to get rid of.
Yeah, because there's no hope for him.
No.
There really isn't.
No, not at all. So, Louis Gohmert was interviewed on Fox News, and he was asked, who's running for Boehner's position as Speaker of the House, he was asked about what he thought of what Obama just said, which is what we're saying the Democrats were protecting Obama. That's what I clearly see.
I see that too.
Okay. So this is what Louis said, and this is hopefully the next Speaker of the House.
Well, what he says is he wants to get out his pen and veto. But what I'm excited about is after all these years, Trace, now the president has finally admitted they've been lying. He, Harry Reid, all those folks that have been saying Republicans were the party of no. He's basically admitted in this statement, yeah, we've been the party of no, but I've been able to rely on Harry Reid to say no, so I didn't have to. But we've been the ones that really stopped it. That's what I'm hearing in that statement, and I'm glad the president finally admitted. Like an alcoholic, the best news is when you finally admit where your problem is.
He just called him an alcoholic. I love it. Oh no, but he did say pretty much exactly what you noticed there too. Word for word, but you gotta also throw in there that there's definitely hints of alcoholism here. Yes, definitely, for sure,
without a doubt. I mean, he could have used a crack addict example.
Yeah, it might have been over the top.
Might have been going too far.
Yeah, and you can't talk about crack and a black person.
Crack and black, it's not good. No,
it's almost as bad as using the L word.
Oh,
you can't say lazy.
Oh, L-A-Z-Y.
Can't say lazy in reference to or hinting.
See, so folks, you're listening and you're learning.
Yes,
as
exactly.
well as I'm learning too. There's things that.
So you could say alcoholics because, or alcoholism or whatever,
right?
Because it's kind of more associated as a white problem.
Oh, holy crap!
Think about it. How many?
I never thought about that.
How many black lushes do you know? I mean, if you stop and think about it.
No, I think Al Sharpton is one, but
he's just brain damaged.
Okay,
but
well, and you've got that white Midwest cracker kind of.
Well, the trailer park,
right?
They're in the wife beater that's stained because they keep spilling their beer when they pass out.
How classic of a picture is that?
It's classic, yeah.
That is the idea or the vision that Hollywood has and that the media has for people who live in, say, Kentucky or Tennessee or Missouri or Arkansas or...
Yeah! I was. Anytime you start listing states, I think of Howard Dean.
And I've got that soundbite somewhere
buried. Oh, we have to dig that one out.
Oh, well, I don't want to lose this, but
we have a place. We have a place to lose. Well, now you're losing your place.
Oh.
I took your train of thought away. Sorry.
She's the one, the lunatic, the crazed one that will be challenging, that the Democrats want to challenge Hillary. And she claimed that she had Native American Indian in her to win.
Ooh, I don't remember her name, but yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I keep wanting to say Warren.
I don't know. She's been in the news, whatever.
I'll get back to it,
yeah.
and I'll finish that thought 1 minute.
We'll have to go ahead and Google that.
So,
what you got next in the stack here?
We can go to
moving on.
We can go to Chuck U. Schumer.
Why not?
This is an okay. I won't. Just listen to this. This is the classic lib. This classic elected lib.
We're going to introduce amendments to make it more of a jobs bill. We're going to introduce an amendment to say that the steel used in the pipeline should be made in America, creating American jobs. We're going to introduce an amendment that says that the oil that's used in the pipeline should be used in America. Imagine building a pipeline that ships Canadian oil across America to be exported to other countries from Texas. That makes no sense at all in terms of American working people's interests. So we're going to say that the oil should stay here. And finally, we're going to introduce an amendment to add clean energy jobs. If you do things for wind and solar energy, you create tens of thousands of more jobs using clean energy. Why create a very few jobs with the dirtiest of energy from tar sands when you can create tens of thousands more clean jobs using wind and solar?
What an idiot. What a complete moron. And forget the solar for a second here.
This was on
You know what
Slay
this sounds
the Nation.
like? When he says something like, it doesn't make any sense that we should be getting all this oil and then having it shipped through our pipelines overseas to be used elsewhere. We should have the oil coming through a pipeline that we create should be for our use only. You know what that sounds like to me as a person that actually knows what the hell is going on here? It sounds like somebody made a bunch of chocolate cupcakes with chocolate icing all over them, and the little kids demand that they get to eat them instead of profiting their butt off by selling them. They could sell them at a bake sale and make a ton of money. But no, that's not fair because I want to eat them. Why don't I get to eat them? What sense does it make to make all these yummy, yummy chocolatey cupcakes and then just let somebody else eat them? You moron! The whole point of becoming a prosperous nation is to have exports.
Right.
Why do you think Saudi Arabia is getting rich? Is it because they're making oil for themselves? No, because they're shipping us their oil. What a moron! This guy's got to be the dumbest person I've ever heard in my life. And this is a leader of our country.
Right. This is an elected official. Well, on Slay the Nation, Bob then had a follow-up question because he was confused. Bob was confused as well, and he said, whoa, Chucky, even if these amendments that you're going to write, even if they pass, you're still going to urge the president to veto?
That is very, very confusing.
Well, yes, I don't think these amendments will make it better, but certainly not good enough at this point in time. And I think there will be enough Democratic votes to sustain the president's veto.
All right. Well, Senator,
much different energy policy.
Wait. So let me get this straight, because we got to recap, because I cannot believe what I'm hearing.
He said exactly what you think he said.
So he's saying I am going to introduce legislation that's going to do all this stuff that we need to have done, because it doesn't make sense to not do this.
Well, he's going to put to this bill of passing the pipeline, he's going to add amendments to the bill stipulating certain criteria that have to happen in order for us to pass. Yes.
Right, that he thinks will make it good or make it more palatable for the idiot liberals that he can...
Right. And the reason why I bring this whole Keystone Pipeline up, it's not obscure. It is what the Republicans, the GOP, have said will be the first big thing they're going to tackle in 2015. So that's why this is now come front and center.
So this is legislation he wants to make sure that he puts into place to get vetoed?
Yeah. He said, right, yeah. And then he said, because I don't think these amendments will work.
His amendments.
Right.
Maybe he meant to say, look, we're putting amendments on this bill that we think are necessary. But the bill itself should just not even happen. Maybe I'm playing devil's advocate here. I've got to try to throw a life raft out to him, a lifesaver, while he's swimming out there in the swelling ocean.
Let me play the first 5 seconds of that clip again. When I talk about priceless, folks, this is priceless.
Well, yes, I don't think these amendments will make it better, but certainly not good enough at this point in time.
Good enough for what?
He said these amendments won't make it better.
No, he said he said they will make it better, but not enough.
Not good enough.
Not good enough.
He said won't.
Wait, replay that again. We need forensics on this.
Well, yes, I don't think these amendments will make it better, but certainly not good enough at this.
Okay, so he's got two different thoughts.
Yeah, he crossed thoughts.
Yeah, okay.
He said, I don't think, and then he reversed and said, I think these will make it better, but not good enough.
And this is not crossing thoughts like the time Obama said. The problem is that I'm president and not the emperor.
That is not crossing thoughts. That is one very simple, coherent, well-articulated blunder, if you will, exposing the fact that he figures that the presidency itself in America is a problem for him, and that the solution to that problem,
the final solution, that is
for us to go ahead and allow him to abolish the presidency so that he can become our first emperor.
Which then he'll be able to get things done.
Yeah, and then that's the solution to the problem, which is that he's just president.
The final
solution.
Right. So, what about what Chuck U. Schumer said about tens of thousands of jobs being created by clean energy and not dirty energy?
Well, so by clean energy he means like
solar and wind.
Well, first of all, the wind, I heard that the method and materials used in a wind turbine are extremely environmentally hazardous, and I'm not even including the fact that those turbines actually kill all kinds of endangered birds that are trying to fly through there. Spotted owls and bald eagles and all that fly. They just get pegged. And by the way, if you've ever driven through Iowa or any place where Iowa just happens to be particularly windy, but they have them all over near the highway when you drive through Iowa. And I actually did the calculation on how fast these things go. When you look at them from a distance, they look like slow motion fans.
Right.
But what you don't realize is they're like 300 some odd feet high. So if you count how long, well, first of all, if you know how high they are, then you can guesstimate the diameter of these things.
And what he's saying is it's an optical illusion because you can look up at a plane in the sky. It doesn't look like he's moving fast at all.
Barely creeping
but he's
across
doing
the sky.
at least a minimum 500
like 600 miles an hour.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
So what I did was I used a really simple algebraic formula to figure out. First, I estimated the diameter or radius of the entire windmill, and then I timed how long it took to do a revolution.
Okay.
Then I used the time and the distance based on the circumference formula,
right,
to figure out a speed of the actual tip of the blade of this.
Oh, man.
It goes 200 miles an hour.
Oh my God.
Yes, in Iowa with the stiff breeze that they got there, the tip of that blade going in a circle goes 200 miles an hour.
Oh,
and you would never know it
wow.
because from a distance it looks like it's going in slow motion.
But the distance it has to travel to make a revolution is really far.
Well, when you're at the Indy 500, and if you're sitting in just the right place, which I'll give you an example. If you're sitting on the first turn looking directly straight down the straightaway.
The start.
The front
right.
straight.
The
Yeah,
front,
you're looking
front straight where they start.
And so that way when the car's coming at you, or when it's coming down the straightaway, it's coming directly at you. And as it's coming, kind of looks like it's stopped. I mean, it's just getting bigger, but it's not even hardly moving. Right. It's just coming right at you. And then finally, when it gets close, it passes really fast and everything. But that's a little bit short of a mile-long front straight. So it takes a long time.
Right.
Well, it
doesn't look that long.
Right. And also, if you look at the Indy 500 from the Goodyear blimp, which they do show footage from that periodically, they look like cars on the highway. Really slow. But they're going 200 miles an hour.
Right.
Well, same principle with the tips of these wing.
Is that what they call the Doppler effect?
Well, that's something different, but yeah.
When the train comes by you and all of a sudden it's coming loud. Well, you hear it at a distance, and then all of a sudden it's getting louder and louder, and then as soon as it passes you,
yeah, the pitch increases. That's the Doppler effect. So if I'm doing, if there's a certain RPM on the engine,
right?
Well, as it's coming towards you, it sounds really high pitched, and then right as it passes you, it goes really low pitched.
It. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes like that.
And you can hear that sitting there in the Indy 500.
Oh, easily. Yeah, it's really obvious at the Indy 500 because you're talking about 200 miles an hour. But if you were sitting in the cockpit of the Indy car, the pitch wouldn't change.
Oh, no,
It'd
not
be
at all.
Constant as it passes the observer. So that's
imagine sitting on the tip of that windmill.
You would never be able to hold on to that thing.
No. Like if they put you in, that egg ride at the fairground. ground.
The centripetal thing that they do for the pilots.
Oh my God!
Pilots. What is that thing called? The centrifuge or whatever.
Centrifuge. Yeah. Oh my. Oh my goodness.
That would be like that.
You'd be pulling some massive G's.
You could imagine.
So what kind of technology do they have to hold those blades on?
Well, I can't sit here and tell you all about it because I
guessing.
really don't know. All I heard is that the materials used, because those things have to be light.
Oh yeah. Well, they did a thing on how it's made.
Yeah.
On those blades.
They paint them in all kinds of exotic paints and everything. They're probably destroying the ozone with the paints they're putting on these things.
The paints I can't get, and I have to go to Mexico and get. They readily have them available.
Actually, if you find somebody in the paint store to give you the lowdown, you can actually mix the old formula.
Oh, okay.
But they'll tell you didn't hear this from me.
Right.
Because that would be totally illegal. But you could
shut down.
Theoretically do this. And I did it, and he was right. But anyway, I digress.
Whoa.
Wait. Oh, I mean, well, something
your friend
legal, but it was legal. It was legal.
When it was before his law was passed.
Yes, I was grandfathered in. It was my grandfather.
Well, fair enough.
So anyway,
I've also been told by many educated individuals who know a little something about electricity. And
one of them would be moi.
And storing of electricity.
That would be moi.
And the problem that you have with the windmills and the electricity, like electricity on demand, if you will. See, when you have electricity, you're making electricity, whether it be by a waterfall and a turbine or a nuclear power plant. You can determine and turn it up or turn it down at any given point in time to meet the electrical demands. I was told that one of the big problems with wind turbines is being able to meet demands when you have those demands on demand.
Yeah, so they have like nighttime. Oh, I'm sorry, that would be a solar panel.
Well, they've got solar farms. All these farms.
Solar farms are really bad because at night, no electricity. Cloudy, really cloudy. No, not much. I mean, you get some.
People will tell you, "Oh, we can produce electricity during clouds."
That's true. That's true.
But the amount
is much less.
Like if you're standing in the sun, directly in the sun, you'll get sunburn. If you're standing in the sun underneath a cloud, you can still get sunburn, but it would take you
a lot longer.
All day.
Yeah, you'd have to be really trying.
Yeah.
You'd have to be putting accelerator.
You would be using Crisco oil.
You would be using gasoline and a blowtorch. That would. So speaking of which, so electricity is power that must be used as it's created, whereas gasoline
can be stored.
Well, right. Electricity storage of electricity is very difficult and very inefficient.
Right.
You could either charge a battery, but just having a battery sitting around, it's slowly discharging.
And the actual weight of the battery to propel it to you're losing the more batteries you have. Well, I have a whole bunch of batteries to make this electric car run. Well, you've got to work out the math on the weight of all those batteries to power that motor versus the weight of gasoline.
Well, but forget about mobile batteries here. Let's just say we had a power plant. Bunch of wind turbines, bunch of solar panels. We need, obviously that's electricity on demand, but we're trying to find a place to store it.
Right.
Maybe we make a giant building full of these batteries, and that way, as the wind is producing the electricity and the customers are not using it,
right,
we're charging batteries. So that way, at some point when they do have a higher demand, we have the power on hand from the batteries.
Right.
Problem is that, like we just said, they're constantly discharging. They have to be replaced after a while.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, the batteries are. Well, you know this. Everybody that's listening knows that you have to replace a battery in a car. Your
like
batteries in your cell phones.
Yeah.
Sometimes even sooner. I've replaced a battery in 4 years.
They say after. Well, you're talking about the car battery to start the car up.
Right.
In an electric vehicle, those are $7,000 batteries to replace.
Okay.
And they last 7 years.
So if you owned one of those electric vehicles and sold it in year 6, you might be looking at some depreciation value.
Yeah, the batteries are just not going to be what they once were, and then a savvy buyer is going to look at that and say, "This is a 6-year-old car. Have you replaced the batteries?"
No, not yet.
And of course, you're going to say, "Well, no. I mean, they still work." Well, in 1 year they won't, or not. They're going to be so bad that you might as well just forget it. So here's my point: a battery is a way of storing the power of electricity. The equivalent for coal and gasoline and oil is a tank.
Right.
You're not, as long as it's not leaky, all the gaskets are good, the valves are tight.
Right.
Then you don't lose any power. You don't, as long as the only way you lose it is if it's leaking.
Right. Well, but gasoline, I mean, I've let a lawnmower sit for 3 and 4 months.
Yeah, it does go stale.
It does go stale, but if I add fresh gas to it, can usually burn it out.
That is not the recommend.
No, I know it's not.
They have stabilizer now.
Correct.
You just dump the stabilizer in it, and that'll actually.
I think it's almost a year.
Actually, they have this new stuff out now that if you double what you're supposed to put in, you can double the the gas from 12 months to 24 months.
Holy smoke!
Yeah, but the stabilizer's expensive. So if you have a 5-gallon tank, let's say, of gasoline, and you want that to last 24 months, you're probably looking at like another $15 worth of stabilizer. So the only reason, I mean, it's expensive gas that is going to last you 24 months. But anyway, coal, you don't need stabilizer for that.
No.
You just need a container. Hell, you can pile it on the ground if you want.
They usually
There's your
do.
Storage.
Yeah.
There's your storage. You know, when I was at Chivy at school, have you ever gone into
this
the
is
basement?
back in the day.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
this is going way back.
Have you been into the basement?
I have.
Okay, so you get into now. I don't know when the last time they had a coal.
When they actually burned the coal for the furnace to keep things warm.
And here's the funny part. I'm thinking they replaced that thing. It had to have been, because black smoke was not coming out of the smokestack when I was a kid.
Right.
So it was already replaced. But anytime we had a tornado drill, they would take us down into the bowel.
Yes.
And you get all the way down there. And even though they don't have a coal furnace anymore, there was a mountain of coal down there. It was just sitting there waiting for somebody to use it on nothing. I swear this thing had to have been, maybe, I mean, I was a little kid, so maybe it's smaller than I thought, but to me it had to have been 10-foot high pile of coal.
Well, if you think about it, an entire elementary, which was, I mean, the school originally at the time was fairly large. I mean, it was a medium-sized elementary. But could you imagine the guy that would have to feed the coal in there on the third shift, on the day shift? Dude, what they should have come up with was a slow-moving conveyor belt.
They may have had it in there. I don't know. I have to go in and check it.
But he's talking about tens of thousands of jobs being created by solar and
wind power.
Wind power.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. What happened to Solyndra?
Oh,
what happened to those
things?
things?
Solyndra was just a joke to begin with that was there to make all of his buddies rich.
It was the funneling process.
It's what do they call it? Money laundering.
Money laundering, right.
You have to money
legal
launder.
way of doing it.
My father's an electrical engineer, and he'll tell you that the amount of electricity that is produced, even if you're going to go with an on-demand system, where you don't have to worry about storage, you would need so many thousands and thousands of wind turbines and solar panels all over the place, just cluttering the landscape in order to replace a coal-fired power plant.
Right. No, without a doubt. I mean, it's just the most liberal, one of the most liberal countries that I know of, France. That's just what they are. Do you realize that 75% of their electricity comes from nuclear power plants?
It doesn't surprise me.
Really? I was shocked at that. Yeah. Because of how liberal they are, and how many times have you heard?
Yeah, but you know, there's
a nuclear power plant in France blowing up.
There is a really epic tug of war, and I think this thing's going to rage on for decades and decades, maybe even long after we're dead, of environmentalists that fall into two camps. The camps that say, oh my gosh, there is nothing more environmentally damaging or at least risky than a nuclear power plant because of the Chernobyl, 5 Mile Island, 7 Mile Island, what was it? 5 Mile. 5 Mile Island. All these and that the latest is that one in Tokyo.
Yeah, they're talking
tsunami?
about radiation coming to the west coast of America.
Yeah, so there's that camp that's like, there is nothing worse than nuclear power. And then there's this other camp of environmentalists who are like, gosh, if you look at the coal and you look at the damage to the environment that creating the wind turbines and the solar panels and all that, and batteries, my gosh, it's completely environmentally unfriendly.
Right.
Nuclear power is the best.
Hands down.
This is what environmentalists are saying. Not all of them, because like I said, it's like this epic tug of war, and they're really they're either one way or the other. They're like, ooh, never. We should never, ever use uranium, plutonium, or anything like that for any kind of anything because it could be potentially damaging. And then you got the other side that's saying, think of how clean of a world we'll live in when everybody's being powered by nuclear power.
Which I'm all for. 100%.
I'd be for it. I mean, what about, well, you'd have all these places like Fernald that are having to mine uranium and mine and create plutonium all over the world to feed more and more power plants. You would have all this toxic waste. It would be nuclear waste that eventually has to be disposed of somewhere.
Right.
And they were talking about doing that, what was that mountain called? The Yucca Mountain or something like that?
Oh, yeah, where they were going to store everything?
Right. At some point, was it Bush or somebody? The Bush administration, or maybe it was I don't think it was Obama. I think it was the Bush administration. They said, we're just going to take all the nuclear waste from all the different power plants all over the country, and we're going to bury them deep inside this Yucca Mountain thing. And it caused a lot of outrage because you have to put all this toxic waste, nuclear waste, into trucks, which would then be driving down the highway.
Right.
It's like a accident waiting to happen.
Say,
right.
Put it on a train.
Right, so on a train, instead of having one, now you'll have a couple hundred. So I don't know if you've ever heard of the phrase train wreck. This would be a literal train wreck. Oh, could you imagine?
No, I couldn't
Oh,
imagine.
my goodness.
Chuck Schumer. Yeah, Chuck Schumer. Speaking about liberals and lunatics, it was Elizabeth Warren that I was thinking about before.
I remember.
I was thinking Warren. Elizabeth Warren claimed that she was Native American. And she's got a percentage of it in her.
Well,
somewhere in her. I don't know.
You know, that's you ever use that pickup line?
Wow. Wow, yikes. So she won the Senate seat in her state, and she is an outspoken, pretty much outspoken loony bin. She's really, really out there. She's a communist. Saul Alinsky, she was raised in that camp. That's something I learned this weekend as well. Is Hillary Clinton met with Saul Alinsky as a child when she was young in college.
Oh, okay.
And was given the book Rules for Radicals by him to learn. And she was raised as a Goldwater girl. She was raised as a Republican.
Really?
And when she got to college, she fell googly-eyed over this Methodist preacher, and he introduced her to Saul Alinsky.
Oh, my goodness.
And so she saw the book, and she started reading it, and she was one of the first ones to realize that it's not warring against the government to change the government. This is Clinton. She realized, let's change the politicians so that they will inherently change the government.
Well, and I know we try to target low information voters on this program, but
it's kind of high stuff. I'm sorry.
I would like no. What I was going to say is I would like to speak directly to our base, which would be kind of that libertarian, Tea Party, conservative, whatever, that kind of thing. The communists have, for the past couple of decades maybe, always had the drop on us in every turn.
Right.
They're always ahead of us a little bit, and we've got to be vigilant.
It's not that they're smarter than us. It's that we have kind of...
It's like they're outworking us, and I'm not calling anybody lazy, especially if you're black.
Right, not lazy. It's that when things are really, really good in America, like the 80s and 90s, and you're making a lot of money, you're enjoying yourself, you're going on vacation, and, man, this is America! And you kind of forget to keep, the attic clean or the basement clean. kind of forget that the upkeep on your car, that's what this is. This is the upkeep that they're doing that we're not doing.
Well, like Reagan always said, we're always one generation away from, losing the freedoms that we've had and stuff like that. And that's kind of in a nutshell what we're talking about. But with the liberals always having they're like a step ahead of us, and we need to head them off at the pass. We need to see it coming, and you got to stop this false belief. It's almost like you're resting on your laurels that the default is, since we're all smart here, we're all intelligent, we're all well educated, the default is that we fall on the logical conclusion that free market capitalism, conservatism, small government is the right solution for all these problems, and that we reject communism because we see it doesn't work time and time again. Every time it's tried, it doesn't work.
No.
Because you can see where all the inherent failures come from, because we're all politically aware, ideologically aware, and you can't just assume that that's going to be the default thinking for everybody. I mean, we know somebody really close to us that, it's shocking.
It's painful.
It's
Truly.
shocking how easily they just can slip away into the communist realm.
Like they're not looking at that banana peel.
Yeah, it's right. We see the banana peel, and we know what's going to happen if you step on that thing. And I don't know if it's that they don't see it, or they see it and say, imagine how fun it's going to be. Hey, you think, you know what? The way we're walking is not efficient. If I can just dig my heel into that banana peel and lean into it, I'm going to get to where I need to go faster and with less energy.
Oh, jeez.
That's what it is. They
Wow.
think that planting their foot on that banana peel is what they want to do.
Jeez. So this communist manifesto that we keep talking about, this whole rules for radicals, this is Alinsky targeted hippies, and these hippies were people like brain dead hippies like Hillary Clinton and Elizabeth Warren. And now the Democrat Party has not brought up new blood, if you will, there's no real young people in the party running or commanding any kind of attention for running for position or power. The Republicans do have that, but it's going to take a long time. But this is what Elizabeth Warren said just a few months ago.
I hear all this, this is class warfare, this is whatever. No, there is nobody in this country who got rich on his own. Nobody. You built a factory out there, good for you, but I want to be clear. You moved your goods to market on the roads the rest of us paid for. Yep. You hired workers the rest of us paid to educate. You were safe in your factory because of police forces and fire forces that the rest of us paid for.
Okay. I can't take any much more of that crazy lunatic. But this is what she truly believes. This is, and like I say it time and time again, you've got to listen to the tone of her voice. You've got to hear the anger, the vitriol, the accusations of, so many evils out there. You don't hear Tea Party conservative people speaking like this. This is just angry and hate.
But there's going to be people that hear that and say, yeah, that's where it starts. They hear something like that without. It's easy to miss the fallacies in our argument.
So I'm saying, listen to the anger. Now we're going to explain to you the fallacies of that.
Well, one thing, and we'll probably have to play it again because she mentioned several different things, but one thing I can tell you right off the bat is the education part. Okay, yeah, education costs money, and there's some people out there that may just not be able to earn. Let's just say that the only way to get an education is to pay a school tuition, even from the youngest of ages all the way up. And there's going to always be people out there that probably need some assistance because schools can be costly and all that. Although they would be a lot cheaper if there wasn't so much government money pumped into them. But anyway, it's a fallacy to say that these people have an education thanks to the people or the government providing this for you, because they don't have to. We could have a completely privatized education
Which would
system.
be better.
It would be better.
Be a lot smarter individuals in this country.
It would be subject to the free market capitalism that we know works time and time again to create better goods and services and cheaper goods and services. And that's what would happen with the education system if it was fully privatized. I'm for a voucher system. I mean, if you're really that worried, because I do believe that that education shouldn't be unavailable to a child because their parents just flat out can't afford it. So that being said, if you want to pay taxes that end up going towards a voucher system that allows each and every person in a community that's been paying for the vouchers, it could be a national, it could be state, it could be local, whatever, to utilize these vouchers to pay tuition for a private school of their choice, I'm all for that, because then the schools will be fighting for those vouchers the same way they'd be fighting for dollar bills if we were doing it without a voucher system. And so the free market capitalism system would be at work. If you don't like that school, you can pull your kid out, send your vouchers elsewhere to a school that you feel is more deserving. So they're going to work harder. All the schools are going to work harder to win those vouchers.
There's a movie out called The Lottery, and it has to do with winning a lottery ticket per se for your child to go to these new schools that have been started up.
Oh, you're talking about the magnet schools.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
And let me tell you right now.
It's heartbreaking.
It is devastating to see thousands of parents who desperately want their child to be in a good environment to learn, and there's only 50 slots.
Or
100 slots.
I think it is a humanitarian crisis when you got all these people in this crowded little cafeteria or whatever waiting to see if their child will win the lottery of a good education, and a majority of them sitting there, sweaty palms, and just hoping and praying to God that they get lucky enough to avoid the prison system, the education system that is, for the most part, just a prison system for children.
Right.
And then they don't get it. They show close-up videos of the reaction of these parents when it dawns on them that their child is going to suffer through the grinding.
Yeah.
It's so heartbreaking
because your heart is breaking for them because you know they're breaking, and
it doesn't have to.
No, and that's the travesty of it all, is the injustice that none of this has to happen. And do not think for one second that the unions, the liberals, and the Democrats they don't want your kids going to those schools.
Yeah, remember, what was the first thing Barack Obama tried to do in the D.C. area? Bush started this big voucher program all over, but in D.C. specifically. And even though the voucher system was going on in most of the nation after Barack Obama got elected, the first thing he did was eliminate the voucher system in D.C., and all these parents, mostly minority,
hell broke loose.
We're like, whoa, you can't do this. And it was like this huge outcry, pouring, give us our voucher system back. And he eventually reversed it because he realized, oh my gosh, this is a PR nightmare.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that it is his preference, as is, and by the way, Obama's preference is always perfectly in line with everything communist.
Right. Don't think for one second that it's not. I mean, he was raised. Folks, listen, we say
He's
this
a
time
red
and time again.
diaper baby or whatever they call him.
Yes, he was raised by a mother and a grandmother
who were
carrying communists. They moved specifically. They moved his mother specifically to go to a school called the Red School on the Hill.
Oh my gosh!
They moved to get to that school because they knew that school was sought after by communists. It was run by communists. So if you wanted your child to understand and learn and embrace it, that's the school you go to. I mean, he even says in Dreams from My Father, he talks about how his mother was the #1 role model in his life, and how his grandmother raised him and just all this love. Think about this. I know that whether you have the same views of your parents or not, okay, say your parent was a Democrat and now you're a Republican, or your parents are Republican and now you're Democrat. I understand, but think about the tear, the divide that has to happen for you to go ahead and make your own decision in a different way. Now imagine if you were brainwashed. If you were brainwashed in believing that communism and liberalism and socialism is the perfect way of life. Brainwashed. Like the Muslims brainwash their children to go kill people.
That's some good brainwashing right there.
You don't undo that without. I don't know what you would do. I don't know how you would undo that.
We're talking about making young people who are otherwise not even suicidal go and blow themselves up.
Right. For the love of...
In hopes that you take as many infidels with you as possible.
Right, and this is to do this, and these are warring nations, because that's what they do. They conquer and conquer and conquer. But they raise their kids that our way of life is to conquer and kill. You were put on this earth to conquer and kill the infidels, the bad people, the ones who love everybody. We got to get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
The Christians, got to get rid of them. They care about you, but don't get sucked into that. Don't get sucked in. I don't know what I don't know what they'd have to say.
Well, you have to completely lie, and that's the nature of propaganda that leads to what an end result that we call brainwashing. I know that's the kind of rhetoric that kind of makes people recoil.
I know, but I don't know what other word to use. But that's what is going on.
They're just they're miseducating you, or you're getting a miseducation. Is what you're getting.
Yeah, a false education of history, a false education of what is reality. And I mean, like I was listening to one radio talk show guy, and he was doing a tribute to his father because his father had died, and one thing that struck me is funny is he was talking about how much he loved his dad, and then he got to a point, he's like, but my dad was an asshole, and a lot of people hated him, but he was my asshole. He was my dad, and regardless if people hated him, he was my dad, and that was okay. So it was kind of weird. He had a twist on it, and he understood his dad, and he just, okay, that's just dad. You gotta, whatever. I mean, my parents have their quirks too. Love them to death, What are you gonna, you only get one parent. You don't get more. I mean, you get two, a mom and dad, but you can't trade those in.
But what if they teach you to be a suicide bomber?
Right, well, and I'm sure there are kids that don't want to do it.
Do you think there's a point in their journey to go kill themselves with a dynamite encrusted vest that they're like, gosh, I really don't want to do this, but I am, because there's no way I'm going to be able to get out of this.
Right, because if I come back, they're going to pull the trigger on me anyways.
They're just going to kill me.
Oh yeah. There's no joke about that.
You would think that there would be a lot of people that would say, you know what, I'm taking my chances and not doing it and seeing if I can get away.
There were...
At least that you would hope anyway.
Right. Last week, in the whole ISIS regime and the Muslims that are over there warring factions and killing, they were up to, they don't know the exact numbers, but they were anywhere from 150 to 200 fighters that joined ISIS to help fight and help kill infidels. that said, we're kind of tired. We want to take a break. We want to go home. And, that's just kind of how they were done fighting. And they lined him up and said, no, you're not, and killed them all.
Can't take a break, huh?
You can never take a break. Wow. Take a break from killing.
They should have unionized.
They needed representation. Yikes!
Wow.
Yeah, that was a story that I read that, and I just you gotta understand the people we're dealing with, and these are speaking of these Muslims. This is what breaks my heart. Israel this week came out with a statement and said, "With friends like Obama, who needs enemies?"
And that's a big statement coming from them.
Right. Well, apparently Iran is becoming a nuclear power. They're developing nuclear warheads and the nuclear bomb. And Obama is allowing that to go, and it's okay. There's nobody saying anything about it. He's doing backdoor talks with Russia. I don't know why, but for the last 7 or 8 months, it's now starting to leak out that the Obama administration has been in secret room talks with Russia and trying to appease Russia and say, oh, come off this Ukraine thing. It'll be fine. You don't need that. And you don't... Like it's... I don't know. It's like that mom trying to say that her alcoholic husband that just beat the kids up and is passed out, she's trying to tell the kids, oh, it's okay, it's not him, he loves you, it's the alcohol doing it. I mean, because Obama was the alcoholic.
Oh, yeah, he is an alcoholic.
Right. So, I mean, what is... Was
that Krauthammer that said that? That he's an alcoholic?
Oh, no. No, that was... That was Gomer, Louis Gomer.
Oh, that's right.
Texas Republican.
That was so classic.
And so the atlases that are made for students all over the world, one of the largest ones ever, HarperCollins. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
Probably.
But
it's an atlas maker?
Yeah. Atlases, maps, all over the world. And they made maps for Muslims all over the world as well. The Muslim maps... coincidentally, have Israel erased.
Oh, come on.
It's not there.
So is this company Islamic?
They were confronted by this, and they made a public statement. They said, we didn't want to... we were trying to cater to the people we were selling to, and we didn't want to offend the Muslims by having... Israel on the map. We are very sorry. We'll recall those maps and we'll redo them correctly.
That's the nature of liberalism right there. Is liberalism is, and we're talking about communism here.
Progressives,
yeah.
Communism.
It is it's a belief that people cannot ever be held accountable for their own personal individual actions ever. It just can't happen. So what do you do in response to a world where people cannot ever be held accountable for their actions? Well, let's take the Muslims, for example. We know that they are going to lash out violently when showed a picture in an atlas of their region with a country on it that says Israel.
Right.
They're going to lash out violently.
Right.
And be upset. And so they have to create a world in which, well, we'll call it a utopia.
Oh, wow.
In which they won't need to be responsible for their actions because we're not going to give them the chance to have a reaction.
Oh,
that
wow
is liberal, progressive communism.
Right, absolutely.
That is what that is.
And this is ingrained in their culture over in Europe and the Middle East. This is part of their culture for thousands and thousands of years. When they believe and are taught, and it's ingrained in them for thousands of years, to be a man is to take and dominate another human being. That's what a man is. That's what men do. And so they dominate in order to acquire more wealth.
Okay.
Which is the opposite of America. So Obama is pro-Muslim. He has been this whole time. He's one of the only presidents.
Well, Muslims would say he is Muslim.
Right.
I don't know why.
Well, and
I'm just quoting.
I've had sound bites on the show where they've slipped up and made it publicly known.
I think he said I'm Muslim. Or no, was that his wife?
Might have.
Something about his Muslim faith.
Right.
Remember that?
Right. Yes.
Shocking. Anyway, go ahead.
And this is something that Israel is clearly upset about. The recognition of a Palestinian state. Now, this kind of caught me as odd because I didn't really understand this very much, and that's why I wanted to make it known. The Palestinian, the Israel is okay with, and they will recognize Palestinian as a state and give them their own state. Europe as a whole wants to recognize that as well. And they've been wanting to. Europe as a whole has not supported Israel. However, Palestinians will refuse to recognize Israel as a state and say they should be dead.
So it's kind of hypocritical.
Yes! Yes!
I mean, yeah.
It's like the homosexual that was in the bar that was screaming and yelling at me for being straight. And that really did happen.
Like he was just angry about it.
Oh, he was cussing up and down. He's like,
never...
how could you ever? That's so disgusting.
It sounds like he was trolling you because
maybe.
He may have been trolling you.
He was drunk. He's pretty lit up.
Well, the reason I asked that is because you're making it sound like it's possible that you're the first straight man he's ever seen in his life.
Boy, he acted like it.
He's probably trolling
when
you.
You're in when you're in Long Beach, south of L.A., that's kind of, you may not run across a straight person.
We have a place in Cincinnati called Little San Francisco.
Oh.
It's called North Side.
Oh, okay. Yeah, of course. I didn't know they referred to it as Little San Fran.
I coined it.
Oh, okay.
I coined it. Little San Francisco.
For those that you live here, that's where you want to be, North Side.
If you want to go to Little San Francisco, go on up to North Side. They do have some. If you're a hipster, you can go to some of the bars up there, and you will fit right in.
Congress this year has been trying to pass new sanctions against radical Muslim nations. Did you know that?
I'm shocked.
Well, nobody's talking about this. The media didn't talk about it. However, the Obama administration is working extremely hard to prevent Congress from doing this. Israel is tired of hollow promises from European leaders. Obama, and this is the damning thing of it all, Obama was elected with a large number of Jewish Americans community. Well, and it still blows my mind that Jewish Americans are Democrat and vote Democrat. I just still cannot wrap my head around that. And if anybody out there can call us and
and help Brian wrap his head around that. And we're not talking about a telephone poll.
No, we're talking about an entire community of American Jews voting Democrat. And then you get angry because you put in place a Muslim.
You know, the only thing I can think of, and of course I'm citing a movie, but you know,
a Hollywood movie.
Yeah, it's a Hollywood. There is. If you ever seen that movie Biloxi Blues.
Oh yeah,
with what's the guy? Matthew Broderick.
Yeah.
And the drill instructor was Christopher Walken. You remember that?
Oh my god, that has been so long. I haven't seen that in a long time.
That's a pretty good one. Well, in the movie, Matthew Broderick plays a moderate Jew. He's a Jewish guy, but you don't even know.
Right.
Until like later in the movie, it's pointed out to him, and he's just like, "Yeah, I know I'm Jewish, but I don't bust everybody's balls like you do." So the other guy is Jewish, but he's like really like he wears his Jewish religion.
Orthodox Jew.
Yeah, like he wears his religion on his sleeve, and everybody around him is kind of like, whatever, dude, and doesn't kind of treats him bad. They bully him,
right,
flat out. Well, Matthew Broderick tries to come to his rescue. Everybody likes Matthew Broderick, even though they're both Jews. But every time I think of Jews voting Democrat or liberal or being liberal in general,
right,
and not making any sense to me, because I'm like, how could you side with that?
Right.
I think of that movie and that guy, and he had this conversation, one-on-one conversation with Matthew, who pretty much confronted him and said, why are you punishing yourself like this? Why are you are behaving in a way that is just making your life miserable? And his reaction was just all I can think of when I think of Jews that vote Democrat, which is pretty much, this is my cause. This is my cause, and it's just like, yeah. You'll have to see that movie again. It really kind of explains a lot when you think of Jewish people voting for these liberal communists, whatever. It's like they got this cause, and that's all. It means so much to them. It means so much to them to keep fighting for this cause of whatever it is. This fighting for the little guy. That's what it is. It's what
But the people that they're siding with are actually destroying the little guy.
Yeah, it's kind of ignorant. It's ignorant for them to go along. It's like you're siding with the devil or whatever, and they don't realize it. It's just ignorance. It's not like what they're doing. They're doing what they're doing, and they would tell you, "Well, I'm socially conscious." That's what they would say. I'm socially conscious. But
what does socially conscious mean?
It means that I'm aware of the plight of the little man.
Oh my God.
The people that can't stand up for themselves.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. You got see that movie and you'll understand a lot
I got to
better.
get myself socially conscious.
Some Biloxi Blues.
Right. Holy.
That was a good movie though. It was a good movie.
Wow. Well, hey, back in the news, something else that you brought up a while ago is the self-driving cars.
I'm telling you, man, it's the next thing.
They are coming up.
In 20 years, we're going to be looking back at this day. I was just telling my cousin this the other day, not Brian, my other cousin. We're going to be thinking back at this date. As you're listening to me right now, remember this, because 20 years from now, I think you're going to be looking back and be like, man, I can't even remember what it was like back then. Because it's going to be a revolution, a big change in... There was a big leap forward in the way humans live. What would be the condition? The human condition changed when the car was invented.
Right.
And it took a while for it to develop, but there's a very stark difference between the life of a human before the automobile and the life of a human after the automobile. I believe that what Google's trying to do, and if successful, will be a before and after moment. It'll be like, this is what... And you could say the same thing about the smartphone. Because
it's moving so fast at the speed of light.
Yeah.
The wife and I were even talking about when we were dating 8 years ago. She told me she loved the phone. I got her a new phone for Christmas. And I said, remember 8 years ago when we first started dating and that crappy phone you had that always hung up on me? And I bought you a new phone then? And she's like, oh, that flip thing.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, man. They were so terrible compared to now. And at times I literally wanted to just crush it. It was so bad.
I was have you ever heard of an early adopter?
Yeah. And I know you are.
In general, like I was an early adopter when it came to flat screen TVs. I was the first one of anybody that I knew that had a flat screen.
Right.
So I was an early adopter there. And I paid a heavy price for it. Things were expensive. When you're an early adopter, you pay for it.
And you know that his flat screen is the earliest one because it is completely full. There's no voids in it. It's completely full of lead.
Yeah, they pumped all the spaces and openings full of lead and plutonium and all the heaviest of metals.
To give it weight so that it'd be worth something.
Yeah, so it would feel like it was worse.
Right.
So anyway, believe it or not, when it comes to cell phones, I would be what you would call a late adopter. There was one other time I was a late adopter. Do you know when I bought my first PC?
No.
It was about a couple months after a news report came out that as of today, if you are a computer owner, a personal computer owner, you are now in the majority. And if you don't own one, you are now in the minority. It crossed over.
Oh.
It went over 50%. And I did not have a computer at that time, and I started thinking to myself, man, I'm really...
When was this?
98.
I was going to say my first one was 97.
Mine was about late 98. But it was after that report came out. And I don't know if I felt social pressure, but I felt like maybe I was going to be left behind or something. Technologically.
I found the interface, the Windows...
Windows 1.0?
Yes! The operating
DOS?
system and the interface.
Did you have DOS?
Well, we did originally have... My dad's like, oh, this is so cool. It's 1982 and Texas Instruments going out of business.
Oh my gosh!
And so they're throwing away these DOS computers for like $50 a piece. I'm going to buy two. So we did.
Are you serious?
I am not lying.
So you had to put the command lines in?
Oh, yes. We talked about this.
Oh, my gosh. If you wanted to print something, you had to type print and then hit enter.
And it would only print what you had previously typed in.
It was a revolution for somebody to say, you know what? Instead of having a command line and typing in print and hitting enter, what if we had an arrow on the screen that we could direct around with something, I don't know, like a box with wheels in it or something?
Yeah, well,
call it a mouse, whatever.
Yeah, and put a picture up there, and they just click the picture.
The picture will say print on it,
right?
And the picture will look like a button,
right?
And when you click on it, it'll look like the button is being depressed,
right?
And it'll actually make a clicking sound.
Oh, it could. It could very. I turn all my sounds off because I don't want to hear it.
Right. And then when you did that, it would be the equivalent of typing print in the command line. That was you know what that's called? It's called visual interface.
Yep. And the environment
or graphic user interface.
Yeah,
graphic user interface.
The environment to where things like this thrive and grow. Like the Amazon rainforest where everything grows over in a day if you chop it down. The environment where these ideas, these revolutionary things thrive and grow is in a free, moral, market society, capitalist society like America. These things that we have given the world, this country America that has given the world is it's just mind-blowing. Like, they were talking about Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs just invented things you didn't know you needed to have.
Yeah.
You didn't know you needed them.
How scary is that when you're like, hey, I know I like this. And I believe that there's people out there that you could ask them, do you need this? And they could say no. But I'm telling you right now, they don't know that they do need this.
They don't know they need it.
They don't know they need it. And that, think of how confident and courageous that you need to be able to think that and then move forward aggressively on things that cost billions of dollars to develop.
I mean,
taking
the risk to make that happen, not knowing. I mean, there's no guarantee payoff of anything. There's no guarantee.
It could fall flat on its face. And don't think for 1 second that there are not other inventions out there in the history of inventions that the inventor thought the same thing and flopped. Totally flopped.
There is one invention that always comes to my mind that that the guy was completely sold that
I think
it would
I know.
revolutionize
Wait,
the
I
world.
think-
No. This is way back.
How long?
It's back when everybody wore hats.
Oh, way back then.
Way back.
Because I'm thinking of one from like 10 years ago.
Okay, no, I'm going way back.
Okay.
And this was a patented invention. Back in the day, where everybody wore stovetop pipe hats, the big hats. When you passed a woman on the street, you tipped your hat.
Oh, okay.
That's saying hello, very courteous. So he came up with this invention that it was a metal cap that you put on your head, and you put the hat on top of that. And when you walked up to a woman, you want to tip your hat, you pressed this button that would push a cord to tip your hat for you.
And he thought. See, I can imagine I'm the investor that you're pitching this to.
Right.
I could definitely see. I mean, this is like a
Self-tipping-
Spencer's. This is like a Spencer's gift novelty gag. Oh.
It's a self-tipping hat.
Wow.
Amazing. So 10 years
Yeah,
ago.
10. I don't know if it's exactly 10 years ago. Maybe 12, 13, 14, whatever it was. This guy was absolutely convinced that this was going to revolutionize the world. That people are going to realize they don't know it yet, but they're not going to be able to live without this, and every single person is going to be using this every day, everywhere they go. And it just did not happen at all.
Oh, I'm waiting. I'm dying.
Segway. He really, if you listen to when he was first coming out with showing everybody how this worked, with the gyroscope and the balancing and all that, and he had a special version that was for handicapped people that allowed people in wheelchairs to go right up a flight of steps.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They said this is going to everybody is going to get everywhere using the Segway.
Right, and that's all you'll ever need.
And people, he thought that sidewalks and the way that everything was set up with sidewalks were going to be completely revamped to accommodate for segways and stuff like that. He just figured every single man, woman, and child, handicapped, healthy, old, 95-year-olds, young children, whatever, they're all going to have segways. It's going to be a revolution that we haven't seen. He was comparing it to the Henry Ford inventing the whatever.
So you know who bought the Segways?
Government officials.
Yes! Yes!
The Copsicles.
The Copsicles.
Copsicles.
Right. Well, when you go, and I think there might be one here in Cincinnati, but I know for a fact, in Long Beach, and specifically Long Beach, because I hadn't seen it anywhere else up the coast or downtown L.A., but specifically Long Beach, there is a store where you can go and rent the Segways. And it's like a surfboard rental shop, but it's a Segway rental shop. And it was kind of neat. My mom was there, my wife, and myself. So there's three of us. And we were thinking about doing this. And my mom, I mean, she's a baby boomer. She's in her 60s, you know. So everybody else is doing this. Let's try and work this out. Oh, no. There is a learning curve.
Really?
This is not... it's completely foreign. When you get on it, it doesn't think for you. And so if you slightly lean back and you feel like you're falling back, you're going to step back and you'll be off the Segway.
Which is a problem.
Big problem.
Because
you've got to commit, 100% commit to staying on it and forget all of everything you know that is real.
So if you feel like you're falling back, you want to just hang in there.
You're falling forward. You've got to hang in there.
Oh, falling forward's got to be scary. It's going to cause people to let go of the steering wheel to brace for the fall.
Yeah, it couldn't happen. She couldn't do it. It just wasn't possible.
She didn't trust it.
Hell no! And I got on it for a little bit, and I did it for a little bit, and I kind of got that. But in the back of my mind, I kept saying to myself, man, this is dangerous. Somebody could kill themselves.
Well, the same exact technology that's used to keep you upright using only 2 wheels is the same technology that keeps a helicopter steady in flight,
right,
while a pilot really isn't doing anything except sitting there.
But
without that gyroscope, he would have to constantly be messing around with the stick to keep it in level flight, whereas the gyroscope just does all of that for you.
Okay, see, that pilot trusts that helicopter. I don't like helicopters.
That was a horrible example.
I'm even more terrified now about helicopters. No, I'm okay. So a couple of things that are going on is it's this big car show, this huge thing that Ford. Let's see, the Ford CEO is and Mercedes-Benz chief managing officer are both delivering the show's two of the 5 keynote addresses. So I guess everybody's going to be there: Mercedes, Audi, BMW, Chrysler, Ford, GM, Honda, all of them. And a couple of the cars that they made mention in this article is BMW is offering a semi-autonomous technology in current production models. There's a camera, radar-based system that warns the driver of impeding traffic and hazards and can automatically brake the car to a standstill if necessary.
Now, hold on a second. So this is called semi-autonomous. So you're still driving.
Right. These are just some of the things. Now, this is BMW.
That's going to be rendered obsolete by the...
Well,
okay.
You cannot reason with a German. You cannot reason with a German engineer because, help me on this one, I own a BMW.
Right.
Used.
My brother owns
used.
one. He got his slightly used. But now it's very used.
And when you're sitting in the driver's seat, to lock and unlock the doors, there is one button in the entire car.
Okay.
And it's on the dashboard.
To lock and unlock the car.
Right in the middle of the dashboard.
That's odd.
It's German. So, and the key charges itself when it's driving in the key thing, and so the key locks and unlocks the car. Well, if you want out of the door, you pull the door handle once for the lock to pop up, and you pull it twice for the door to open.
That would be very confusing. Unless somebody said that to me, like, this is what you got to do to get in and out. That would be fine.
So when I'm outside the car, there's only one keyhole, which is the driver's side door, which a lot of companies are doing nowadays. There's only one keyhole and one door, driver's side door.
There goes chivalry.
Right. Completely gone. So if I want all the doors unlocked and my key goes bad, because the key is $175 to replace.
Okay.
So the key goes bad. I want all the doors unlocked. I have to unlock mine, reach in to the dashboard.
Well, why can't you use your key?
It's broken.
Oh. So if it breaks, this is what you got to do.
Right. Reach into the dashboard and unlock it. Okay, that's fine. If all the doors are unlocked and you want them all locked, you have to get in the car, sit in the seat, close the door, hit the lock button to lock them all, get 2 pulls to get out the door, shut the door, and then lock it manually by hand.
Now that's intolerable.
German.
Well, this is clearly something that they would never or had never foreseen happening.
No, you are wrong. They are German.
Okay. They're saying, why don't you get it fixed?
Yes! Just the things that they've done with their vehicles, it just, as an American, and I own a Ford truck, as an American, it blows my mind in a bad way. So
it's got a radar-based system, warns driver, automatically brake. Okay.
I don't know if I want my car to automatically stop to a standstill. I don't know if I want that.
Well, I did that. It wasn't automatically, but it was on 9/11, 2001. The day, the day that will live in infamy. I was driving on the highway, and it was dark out still. It was real early in the morning, and so it was rush hour.
Right.
And I was looking out for cars coming to a sudden stop because that's what they do all the time on 75 during morning rush hour.
Sure.
All of a sudden, I saw brake lights, and I thought, oh, are they going to stop quick, or is this just tapping on the brakes? And then I saw smoke.
Oh, no!
Yes. And I thought, oh, they're locking.
This is a lockup.
And this was like 2 or 3 cars ahead.
You got a second, maybe a half a
So
second.
I, being very well aware of the situation, had plenty of time to react. So I just jammed it. And believe it or not, as hard as I pressed that brake pedal, I ended up stopping with about 10 feet of space between the car in front of me and me.
Was this the Intrepid?
Yes.
No way!
Well, that thing had pretty big tires. I mean, you could stop that thing.
Oh, okay.
So, as soon as I come to a dead stop, I thought, well, I am on the highway. Maybe I should look in my rearview mirror. And so I looked up, and
You've got to.
And I thought, oh, no.
He's coming hard.
He's coming hard, and I also realized, yeah, he doesn't have time to stop. So I went ahead and braced myself.
So is that the end of the Intrepid? Is that where it...
No, it was repaired.
Okay.
A lot more damage done to their car.
Oh, I'm sure.
It was funny. I thought I could drive away, and I did. And after the cops came, cited them for rear-ending me. And turns out damage. I didn't make it to my destination. I had to get it towed.
Tires were on fire.
They were, because what happened was...
They were rubbing.
When they hit me in the rear end, the exhaust bent in a way that I couldn't see.
Oh.
Turns out it did bend to where it was rubbing against the tire.
Oh.
So I drove off on the highway, and it's rubbing against the exhaust. But anyway.
Wow.
So I do know about stops coming to a standstill if need be.
What do you think about the one about Toyota? You want to read that one?
So on the Toyota will demonstrate its faith in the viability of zero-emission fuel cells vehicles which combine hydrogen and oxygen to create electricity to power a car. Okay. So I've been thinking about hydrogen-based cars for a long time. One of the problems with combining hydrogen and oxygen to create electricity to power a car is it's expensive to produce hydrogen.
Right. Because you have to do something to make it.
Well, let's talk about the conservation of energy real quick. If I get a bunch of power when I take hydrogen and combine it with oxygen, I get a lot of power out of that.
Right.
You could use it to create electricity, which is powering the car. Every bit of the energy that you get out of that reaction, that chemical reaction, is what it takes to separate them in the first place.
Right.
So it ends up being a zero-sum game at maximum efficiency.
Right.
Maximum efficiency. So my dad says, well, it's a terrible idea. Why would you want to spend more energy than you're going to get back out of it? And I pointed out, and I believe rightfully so, well, we don't necessarily have to do all that work ourselves. We can let Mother Nature do it, either through a...
but you're going to run into supply and demand.
That's true. Well, I was going to say, okay, if you look at like Hoover Dam,
right,
lots and lots of energy, but like you say, supply and demand. If we start using a dam similar to Hoover Dam, or maybe even the actual Hoover Dam, to start creating all the hydrogen that we need to power hydrogen-powered cars, then electricity will skyrocket.
Oh, because we don't have
we won't have all that excess power for electricity.
Well, it's like when they wanted to use corn.
Oh my gosh! Good point.
Did you know that now
Good point.
the main staple of Mexicans is corn and beans.
Okay.
And when they started using corn as fuel, you now have outpriced Mexicans to even be able to buy corn.
Well, they were starving, I guess.
They're starving.
Or either that or changing their diet. Yeah, it's crazy.
Food as fuel is wrong.
Really a bad idea.
Wrong.
So you say it's wrong, like it's just morally wrong.
I think there is a moral thing there that I can't point out.
I can point it out for you. So throughout human history, and if you watch movies, old movies, All Quiet on the Western Front,
yeah,
and look at a movie from Depression era earlier, a lot of the theme in the movie is centered around hunger. There are plot points in All Quiet on the Western Front that are about, they seduce these women with a loaf of bread and a lump of meat. These girls
a lump of meat?
It was like they were in the river with a loaf of bread in the river.
Oh, dude.
And some chunk of meat. I don't know what it was. But anyway, these guys were hollering at these girls. And the girls were like, whatever, we don't want none of you.
No, I've got meat.
Then, no, the third guy. Yeah. The two guys were striking out big time. The ugly guy was like, hey, look what I got. All of a sudden, the girls were like, hey, come on over to our house and make sure you bring that with you later tonight.
Oh,
and
wow.
they came over, and these women, when they walked in, I mean, it was like when you first crack open that can of dog food for your dog.
Yeah.
How they're just like all hyped up, and they don't care what's going on around them. They just won't go like a laser beam to that food.
There's no control.
That was the next scene. They showed the women. They weren't even paying any attention to the guys. They were all surrounding this table with this soggy loaf of bread and this meat that was in the river with them because they were like swimming in the river or whatever.
Oh, good.
Oh, remember that? I don't know. I know you saw it a long time ago.
Well, and the thing too is something that our generation and even the baby boomers generation, our parents, don't know anything about.
No, baby boomers don't know about it.
The only thing that baby boomers know about
is the stories they heard.
Right, from their parents.
Yep.
So our grandparents that went through the Great
Depression.
They
got laughed at. They did. They're like, oh, whatever, Dad.
Right.
That's what they were saying.
And they that went through the Great Depression literally had to. It was all of a sudden ingrained in their mind that they need to conserve everything, every bit of food, every bit of everything.
Oh, you don't throw food away.
You stick it away. You harbor it away. You do something so that you never ever run into a situation where you have no food.
I think that if you were to take a time machine back to the 30s or earlier and say, hey, I know you need to warm up. It's wintertime. It's kind of cold outside.
Yeah.
Why don't you take all these stalks of corn and just chuck them in your fireplace?
They would probably shoot you.
They'd be like, you moron! Don't do that. We can eat that.
That's food.
They would rather sit in a cold shelter with no heat in the middle of the winter with
food.
Flammable food around them.
Food.
Oh.
With food.
Right. That's more important. So there is a moral, or you could call it logical. You don't even have to call it moral. You call it logical. It's just logically doesn't make sense to burn food. Which is what you're doing when you make ethanol.
And we're talking about liberals who aren't logical, who push for this illogical stuff, and it always, mark my words, it always backfires on them.
Well, yeah, because you can't, math doesn't fail.
Right. Well, the one liberal friend that we knew from L.A. that had
oh my gosh, the perpetual motion machine.
He had
a perpetual motion machine.
Yes, and it was going to revolutionize the world.
For those of you that don't know anything about physics, it is a fact that hasn't been proven because you can't prove a negative, that a perpetual motion machine will never be built. It is impossible.
Correct. And perpetual motion means you set this thing in motion and it will never, ever, 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 ever stop.
It will. It takes less power to power it than it
uses to run.
To run, right.
So if I put 10 gallons of gas in my car and I use such little gas that it's actually reversing and putting more gas back at the same time, so my tank never runs empty.
Yeah.
Well, that's what his idea was to not actually put gas back in the car. His idea was to put these hundreds and hundreds of tiny windmills on the roof of the car, so that when you the electric car, so that when you drive down the road, they spin
and power the
batteries.
battery. It charges the batteries, and his thought was, well, if we put enough of these things on the car,
it's going to happen.
You would be able to charge it more than it expends
right.
to power the car.
Right. So when I told him that when I told Kerry, he just started laughing at me.
I had to, because I was fresh out of physics classes where we were learning this stuff.
Oh, this was like 10 years. Well,
it was
maybe
a while
8
ago.
8 years ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
So when I confronted him with the answer, I couldn't put it into words.
Well, if you haven't taken like the physics for engineers, you don't necessarily learn this stuff.
But something just doesn't feel right.
Right. What I had to explain was that when you drive down the road, you're going to experience loss of energy due to wind resistance.
Yeah, like stick your hand out the window.
Yeah, you're actually pushing against the car.
Right. And you're making the car use more gas.
Right.
You might not be able to see it.
Slowing it down.
Correct.
One or the other.
Right.
So what his friend didn't realize is that, and this is a physical, mathematical fact, proven over and over throughout the years, the amount of energy that is lost by the wind resistance that is caused by the windmill turning, sticking off the side of this car, will always exceed the amount of energy you can get out of it. Always. It is a fact of life. You'll never get more energy out of the generator in the windmill than you will have taken from the car in wind resistance. Therefore, you're actually causing a net loss.
So when I told this friend of ours, former friend of ours,
he had a brilliant response.
His response was, so what? We're selling this to Obama for green money. Remember when the green money came out? And they'll buy it. They'll
for millions.
It. Yes, they'll believe it.
They'll invest government money, millions, because they're going to look at this. Number one, they're going to be so ignorant and incompetent,
right?
And they're going to have googly eyes for the fact that it's a green project,
right?
And they may even know. They may say, "Well, we know it's not going to work, but we're going to sell it to the American people."
That's right.
We're gonna.
And if you don't believe me, they did it, and it's called the Chevy Volt.
Oh, the Cylindra too.
The Cylindra, but no, the Chevy Volt. Nobody wanted it, and it didn't work, and they had to put a gasoline engine in it to make it a hybrid now.
Oh, man, it's terrible.
Speak, not getting too far off, but GM just issued. They now have to recall 92,000 more SUVs for system lock failures.
System lock?
Yeah, the key.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when you're driving down the road, it locks up and shuts the car down.
Oh, right. So I had a friend that had this recall happen to them. They said that because of the design of the key and the ignition, if you have too many keys on your key ring, it could pull the key in a way that will turn the engine off. And for those of you who have ever tried it before knows that when you turn the car off while driving, you get the steering wheel locks.
The brake pedal locks up, the steering wheel locks up.
Well, no, I mean, if you have power brakes, you're going to lose brakes after a couple pumps. But the steering wheel locks.
Right.
It doesn't go. It goes click, 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 and then it doesn't steer. So if you're going down a windy road, that could be a problem.
Well, and last year, GM recalled 2.6 million small cars for defective ignition switches, linked to 42 deaths and 58 injuries. And this is not on mainstream news or media because...
I don't know. Why?
Government Motors. They're owned by Obama.
GM.
He picked another winner.
Yeah, there's Government Motors. That's GM. And then there's GE, which is
Generous Motor.
Well, it used to be called Generous Electric.
Oh, that's right.
Back when the economy was booming so big that they were just showering everybody with money and benefits.
Right.
But now you could simply call it government electric because of the fact that Jeffrey Immelt he's got
up with money.
He's pretty much gotten in bed so far in bed with Obama and the government, the federal government, that he's pretty much kind of let them annex it.
Right.
He's kind of said, you guys want this? I want to go hit the golf course. Why don't you guys take over?
Obama and I are going to hit the golf course.
You guys watch this first. That's pretty much what happened to GE.
Wow. So Apple's CarPlay and Google's Android Auto.
What the heck is that?
Yeah, I don't know. They debut in 2015 production cars.
The cars. Okay.
Each allows a driver to plug a smartphone running Apple's iOS or Google's Android operating system into the car's USB port and control it from the infotainment touchscreen. That's a lot.
So somebody was in a boardroom and said, Infotainment. And everybody was like, ooh, yeah. I like it. Did he say infotainment?
Yes, he did.
Wow. Do you know what that's called? That's what the industry calls buzzword.
Oh, right.
That's infotainment. We have a buzzword alert.
Wow.
So what is this? A freaking iPod that we could plug into the car? Is that what this is? That's what it sounds like, doesn't it?
It does.
How long have we had iPods that plug into cars?
But why? I don't understand what they're saying, that Apple's CarPlay and Google's Android Auto debut. Oh, okay. So Apple's phone and Google's phone are making their automobile debut.
Oh, it's going to be a part of the automobile.
Oh.
So it's literally like the car manufacturer decided, hey, why don't we go ahead and slap an iPhone in the car?
But it says a car's USB port and control it from the car.
What?
Control it with the Android operating system into the car's USB port and control it from the infotainment touchscreen.
Each allows a driver to plug a smartphone running Apple's iOS or Google's Android operating systems into a car's USB port and control it. Oh, it's controlling the phone from the infotainment. So basically,
you can
instead of texting,
so they messed up with the words.
Yeah, so instead of texting on your phone, you can now text using the infotainment touchscreen while you're driving. Oh man. We are safe on the road once again. That is awesome.
Oh, wow.
So, we kind of got off on a huge tangent, but basically what we're talking about is in 20 years, you're going to be looking back and saying, remember when we had to drive on the road? And we had steering wheels locking up.
Yes.
Now we got these Google cars.
Right.
Why didn't I buy Google stock? I know it was $650 a share, but now it's like $750 million a share. And that was after it split 14 times.
Oh, jeez. Well, it'd been like when we talked about when Netflix had bottomed out at $50 a share.
Oh, we just didn't have any money to invest in it.
$400, $500 a share now.
Brian had this monopoly moment. If I had monopoly money now,
I should have robbed a bank.
Rob a bank,
right?
And then say I want to invest all this into Netflix,
and do that before the cops arrive. And when the cops arrive, you say I ain't got nothing.
And it would take them a while to figure out where that money went.
Yeah.
By the time they found it, it'd be worth a lot more.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So they would get their money back, and I'd make money off of them.
So that one time that the bank accidentally gave me $350,000.
Yeah.
If I went to the casino,
put it all on black,
and it won, would I have to pay the bank back just the $350,000?
Yeah. I'm with you.
But then, would I get to keep the $350,000 that I won?
In my world, yes.
Because I risked having to owe the bank $350,000 had I lost.
Wow.
So I earned it.
Speaking of devices, apparently the vacuum erection device is going to be removed from Medicare coverage.
Ooh, but that's okay, because now it'll be installed in 2015 production cars and be controlled directly from your infotainment touchscreen.
Right.
While you're driving. Oh,
you're not gonna believe the name of this bill. Wait,
this is part of a bill?
Yeah, the U.S. House of Representatives passed a bill that would prohibit Medicare coverage for a vacuum erection system.
Now, some of you guys out there, unfortunately, I'm sorry, suffer from erectile dysfunction.
It's called Viagra. Save up some money and go buy it.
Well, the Viagra's got to be cheaper than the vacuum tube, right? I imagine. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, the vacuum tube is not disposable.
Right. Right. Whereas the Viagra
you
is
keep
consumable.
Buying it. Right.
So you have to keep buying it.
I don't know anything about an erection pump. I don't.
Well, I'm sure it's not. It's reusable. It's not consumable.
But it can't, in my mind, it can't be. I looked at it because of the article, but it can't be. It's got to be damaging, I would think.
Well, you're supposed to use it to
pump up the volume
because of the fact that the volume is not.
It's down,
and you're having trouble cranking
it all the way up.
So if you crank it enough, then the volume will be up, and that should be good. You're not supposed to necessarily blow it out.
Because if you blow it, then you're going to have some
issues.
Right. Well, you won't have any more volume.
You won't have volumes, and not only that, but then you'll have repairs to do.
Major repair.
Right.
Yeah. So the bill called Achieving a Better Life Experience, a.k.a. ABLE, ABLE Act, passed December 3rd and will next be reviewed by the Senate.
So let me get this straight. Removing a penis pump from a bill is achieving a better life experience.
And called the ABLE Act. I would think it'd be called the Disable Act.
Oh, man! Wow! It should be. Well, no, think about it. And I'm sorry for those of you listening at home. I am terribly unprepared. But there is a long list of legislation where the name of the bill or the name of the law means the exact 100-degree opposite, 180-degree opposite of what it is describing.
I think they do that on purpose, too.
I think they do, too.
To screw people up when they're voting for it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It's like the
and if you've ever gone and
women's suffrage.
Yeah, we need to end women's suffrage. That's a fact.
You don't want women to suffer, do you?
Not anymore. So if you've ever been an active voter, and when you go into the booth, and you haven't read through
very carefully,
and this is the first time you're seeing it, you may be in that booth all day.
And if you're not being a very good citizen.
Yeah, because you're just guessing at what it's
you're
trying
just like,
to tell you.
I want everybody to be able. I'm going to vote for this ABLE Act.
This better life experience?
Never mind the penis pumps that are being taken away from all the old people and young people.
I guess. Wow. Because insurance doesn't cover Viagra, I don't think.
Well, sure, why not?
Well, they were saying in the article that some of the other things weren't covered. Like, and this is not insurance. This is Medicaid, Medicare. This is Medicare. while ED medications are a more common treatment, they are not covered by Medicare.
Which is for people 65 and older.
Okay, so Medicaid
is what my buddy that's on the food stamps.
Low income. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but what about, I thought Obamacare was for low income. So you mean we already have insurance for people who can't afford it?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Oh, don't act like I don't know, folks.
It's not about fixing health care.
Don't act like
it's about the government completely taking it over 100%. Because the more things that the government can take over, the more private sector industries that the government can take over, the closer they are to the full-blown communism that is achieved when the government is in charge of all production and services.
Right. Correct.
That is the very definition of communism.
Yeah, and they won't stop until they own all of it. I mean,
and run.
Right,
own and run.
Right.
Very important.
And they did a damn good job with how's Detroit doing?
You know.
Don't let it fail.
Communist propagandists would say, "Well, that's big business failing. Those big auto industries, they failed."
But I thought Obama said he was going to prop them up.
Well, that's the only way to save what the big industry did.
Right. Did you know at one point in time, Detroit City was the wealthiest, maybe even the wealthiest city in the world?
Well, I mean, Henry Ford was living and operating there. So, I mean, I certainly could see that.
My daughters, they were looking at, they watched the movie with me too, America, Imagine a World Without Her. And when
they understand it, because your children are pretty small. Or did you force them?
No, they were like, Daddy.
You forced them.
They would say, Daddy, I'm bored. I'm bored.
During the movie?
Yeah, a couple times. Well, it was a documentary. But then there were certain parts that were brought up that they were curious about, and other parts they didn't care about. Mm-hmm. But when they saw the pictures of Detroit City now, they're like, oh my God, Daddy, where is that?
Terrible.
I said, that's in America. That's just up the road. That's just north of us.
That's the communist part of America.
Oh, yeah.
When you consider the fact that what really happened to the auto industry was that it was ravaged by unions.
Unions. Communist unions.
A union is about the closest private sector version of communism that you can get. I mean, it's right there.
Right.
It almost encompasses every bit of it. So, sorry for all you blue-collar workers out there that think you're all
unionized or need the union, because I tell you what, I look at some of us who are non-union making more money than you.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Back in the
not paying
70s and 80s,
right?
It was all about we get paid more because we do much better work.
Right. Hey, so did you, speaking about money, did you hear about Obama and Michelle's dinner date? They went out on the town at in this place in Hawaii. He's been vacationing in Hawaii for a couple
I heard
years.
about this. Wow. What a dunce.
Apparently, it's like a exclusive resort and...
Okay.
Maybe not a spa, but it's an exclusive high-end cave-like environment.
Okay, I didn't hear about this.
And it encourages to escape the ordinary.
Okay. Sounds like fun.
They were out Thursday night for 3 hours at this vintage cave. It's membership only.
A vintage cave.
That's what they're calling it.
Okay.
Membership only.
I mean, what's a non-vintage cave?
I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
The article, at the headline of the article, it says memberships $500,000 a year. And so I got to reading it.
Really rich for that.
I got to reading it, and it said the membership starts at $50,000 a year and goes up to $500,000.
Okay.
You get a charter membership or a special membership, depending on which one you want. and the Obamas visit this every single year.
Okay.
When you dine there for two people, about $1,000 to eat. So I thought that was quite amazing. The Huffington Post, it's part and parcel of liberal propaganda. I mean, that's,
certainly,
yeah.
certainly.
They posed a question. They said, "Who do you think took more vacations, Bush or Obama?"
This cannot possibly be any more obvious.
While Bush took 407 days at the same time today, in his same career, 407 days up to this point, Obama has only taken 125.
How is that even possible?
You read further down in the article, and it says, the short and the long answer, there's no such thing as a true non-working vacation for the president.
So as long as he is president, he's working. So just hit the golf course.
So they're calculating, in their calculations for vacation days, they're saying that Bush's vacation days he never had not one single non-vacation day. They're all vacation days. So if he went somewhere to talk to the Russians about something, they're considering that vacation.
Oh, he's in Russia. He's on vacation.
He's got to be vacation.
Vacation resort in Russia.
However, Obama, the only time he's ever on vacation is when he hits the golf course, I guess.
Well, that would be more than Bush alone.
I would think so.
Well, they probably deduct days that he golfs that he has his cell phone.
Or, either a cell phone or a business, a guy, a CEO of a company trying to get in the pocket of the government.
Yeah, because that's important work for the president to make sure that the palms are greased.
the wheels and the palms are greased liberally with grease.
Liberally. Oh, my goodness.
Do not stop until the grease is oozing out the sides.
Sometimes the Huffington Post is just infuriating.
Yeah, it's just I can't even wrap my head around it.
Yahoo picks up a lot of articles. Yahoo, they do have their own news division, but a lot of times you'll see articles up on their front page that are linked from places like Huffington Post and stuff like that. But they like to use the Huffington Post because they want to shower their readers with the propaganda.
Right.
And so that's why you'll see so many articles from AP, Huffington Post, all those liberal rags that are just trying to pump you full of lies to get you to start to buy in to communism.
Right.
Pretty much.
Right. Just to end on something kind of weird, kind of funny. I don't want to get too crazy. Bring you guys down. To be too negative here. But there's an article by the PatriotUpdate.com. 14 weird things in 2014 that unions boycotted. I'm just going to get you top 4. You see what you think. The number one thing they boycotted was the teachers' unions banned all Coca-Cola in the faculties and events. The union organization cited human rights violations.
It is a human right to have Coca-Cola?
That's a violation of Coca-Cola. They're citing human rights violations.
What is wrong with these people? Let's go back to when we were talking about hunger. The All Quiet on the Western Front. I mean, it is not... People, man, we need to get back to the Bible.
Yes!
We need to get back to the Bible.
Yes!
If you read and understand the Bible, it'll tell you right there, you have to work for food.
Yep.
If food or Coca-Cola was a a human right, then he wouldn't make you work for it.
Right. No. No, absolutely. And they're also boycotting Staples, the office supply mega store, in response to the store's decision to sell, wait for it, stamps.
What?
The union said Staples stamp selling would jeopardize 80,000 postal job workers.
Why? When I go to the post office and buy stamps, there's not a postal worker there selling them to me. I put my money in the machine and it spits them out.
Apparently they're boycotting Staples.
And by the way...
Who's using stamps that much anymore?
Hardly anybody. However, they're still made by the government anyway.
They're still getting their money. They're also having a ban against Time Magazine.
Ooh.
After a cover story about bad teachers with the headline, Rotten Apples.
Oh, I love it.
AFT was outraged and started a petition demanding an apology.
Why? What? Are
calling teachers rotten apples?
Well, no. I don't think that they're calling all teachers rotten apples. They're doing an article about rotten apples. Now, if you're going to sit here and try to get me to believe that there are no rotten apples in the teachers union, well, I already know that you're completely wrong and you're lying.
Yep.
Because I know of lots of rotten apples.
Right. And I know of lots of great teachers that I have back in my memory that did a great service for me.
So they're not, that's the problem. You don't look at an article like that and say, they're calling teachers rotten apples. Yet they're calling the rotten apple teachers rotten apples. Which they should.
Yep.
We have a right as parents of children to not be subject to piss poor teaching from rotten apples.
Right.
So don't force us to have to endure that.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. And
anyway,
that's
my rant.
The fourth one, there's a ban on the United Teachers of Los Angeles switched hotels for their leadership conference to show solidarity with members of a local union labor. So they're putting out a ban on hotels in L.A. that don't support the labor that they support.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I gotcha. Like the housekeepers?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Housekeeping!
Oh, by the way, I got Tommy Boy on Blu-ray.
Oh, no, you did.
Yeah. That's a classic.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that one, that is one you need to get a hold of.
People these days haven't seen it because it's a 90s movie.
Yeah. No, it's true. I can believe that.
Yeah, it's one of those 90s movies that if you're a youngster, if you're kind of in your really early adulthood or maybe late teens, you just haven't seen it.
All right, I'm going to end out with this. I told you guys about the montage I'd play for you for Stuart Scott. God rest his soul, and pray for his family and his two daughters. They're young. But this is Stuart Scott. I'm going to end the show with this. Have a good week, folks. Happy New Year. Happy
2015.
Yep. Stay with us, and obviously we're giving you the information that you need to know, that you need to pass to your friends. Amen?
Amen.
All right. Have a good night.
Coming up on the show, is it Canerco or Canerco? Call Canerco Butter, because he is on a roll. Looking like two here? Oh, not quite. Off the wall. It's a double for Cal. His mom thought it was a homer. Third inning. Derek Jeter in first. Booyah! Alex Rodriguez. Second homer in 2 nights. You know this kid is as cool as the other side of the pillow. 3-run shot to left. If you're Warren Moon, what are you doing at this hour? Watching Sports Night? We know, but maybe you should be packing your bags and calling real estate agents in Minnesota. Who's got the best left hook right cross in sports? Coop, you go, girl. Top 5. Booyah! Royce Clayton takes Juan Guzman out. Royce, slow your roll, kid. It's only his 5th homer of the year, but he rushed it and crushed it 423 feet. The big 7'1", 330-pound brother who strides up court like this after bringing down the house. Last time we saw you on the court, 98. The pose, the shot.
It's been that long, huh?
Once and for all, did you push off from Brian?
What did they call? Okay, whatever they call, I did.
You have to actually try and be that bad. That's horrid. Again, though, not as bad as Carl Lewis. At least Fitty can sing. Fitty's a rap mogul. Fitty can rap. Carl Lewis threw that thing down, and he
street
butchered.
cred now after that. Is that street cred or not?
Well, you know, the brothers ain't playing baseball in the street, so he still got street cred. He just ain't got no baseball cred.
Swoops with the steal. Swoops, there it is. On the ballot where the party at. Swoops, there it is.
Ken Griffey Jr., waiting. Booyah!
When you die, that does not mean that you lose to cancer. You beat cancer by how you live, why you live, and in the manner in which you live.